anticipation and global fanfare, the royal baby was finally born this week. Sources close to the royal family say the newborn prince spent his first days crawling around Buckingham Palace, eating his first meal, and even speaking his first words. The Onion has obtained this exclusive audio clip.
Ave Antichristi! Ave Antichristi!
In other news, a man's annual 6-sentence conversation with his cousin goes smoothly, a generous improv troupe performs for free, and a pool owner has a bathing suit that touched his penis you can borrow.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call to get in on the conversation with us. It's an open phones talk radio show, Free Talk Live. And the number is 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie. And Lori. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't unmute you. Go ahead.
And Lori.
And Nikki may be joining us. I'm not sure if she's on her way or not. But either way, you can call in and be on the show with us and bring up whatever is on your mind. So if you need that number again, it's 603-283-6160. And we have a lot of good show prep for tonight. There's a lot of silly things, actually, in the news. There's a visitor to a jail, and this one really scares me since I'm visiting Ian in jail all the time recently. A visitor went to jail to visit his loved one, presumably, and got locked in overnight. So we'll talk about that later. But first, we have this story from apnews.com. Michigan to join state-level effort to regulate AI political ads as federal legislation is pending, which I hadn't heard of that federal legislation banning AI political ads. It seems kind of funny. If it's just something like, oh, they needed a background picture for B-roll, like while they're talking about starving children, they'll have an AI starving children. You know, that would be ridiculous. It's all ridiculous because laws are ridiculous. Like humans telling other humans what to do by threat of force is ridiculous. But
I assume it's some idiocracy level, like deep fake showing their opponent like child slave factory behind them or something, you know.
Oh my gosh. So that's probably what they're trying to make sure doesn't happen, even though, I mean, that would be ridiculous. I feel like people should use their common sense to figure out what is and isn't real, but there are lots of people who just aren't used to the internet at all that fall for those deepfake things really easily. Like, it's so bad. Have you seen videos of people doing, like, showing my mom a deepfake of like Joe Biden and the like boomer generation? They're always like, oh, I can't believe he said that. He said smoke weed every day or something, whatever it is.
I don't think it's just the boomers. I think it's people in general. I see people all the time. There was somebody posted a story today in one of the groups that I'm in about L-cysteine in bread, which L-cysteine is an amino acid and it comes from hair products.
Oh, okay.
So they take like hair, sometimes human hair and animal hair, and they put it in acid and, it disintegrates. And then they distill that down to its essential amino acids. And that's what's used as the L-cysteine in the products. And so people are freaking out like, oh, I don't want hair in my food. Like, it's not hair.
Kind of freaky, though.
It's I mean, it's not the worst thing you're going to eat.
Yeah.
If you're eating processed food, you're eating gross
bugs.
things anyway. Bugs. If you go to eat at a restaurant, you're probably eating people's hair, like straight up hair.
That's a good point.
You know? So people just believe whatever they see too. They don't read into it. They're just like, oh no, there's hair in my bread. Like they ground it up into hair dust and put it in there.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, it's definitely not just boomers. I kind of feel bad when I just pick on just boomers for things like that. I'm sure anyone could fall for it. I just happen to see videos of people's like older parents or grandparents falling for, Joe Biden saying smoke weed every day. But Nikki's here joining us. So hello. Nikki. And we also have a caller. So Gigi from South Carolina, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, everybody. Good evening to all our fellow listeners out there across this good old U.S. of A. celebrating the holiday. Happy Hanukkah! And guess what? My husband and I received a wonderful letter from Ian.
Yay!
Oh, nice.
He told me that you wrote him.
I've been writing to Ian, and he wrote a fabulous, positive, upbeat, super wonderful letter. He's keeping busy. He's doing yoga. He's reading. He is exercising. He speaks to his lovely wife, Bonnie, several times a day.
Aww.
And he said he is not freezing. They keep the prison facility comfortable at a good temperature. And he started discussing the war between Israel and Gaza and the Holocaust and expressing political opinions. I was in heaven when my husband read the letter out loud for us to enjoy.
Oh,
it was
that's
wonderful hearing from him, and of course we will continue to stay in touch with him.
Yay.
Oh, that's great. Thanks,
he did tell
Gigi.
me that he received, I think, 2 letters from you. So thank you so much for writing him. That's really sweet, Gigi.
Of course. And we just are very, very, supportive, because he founded this program, and my husband and I believe very strongly in free speech, as all the listeners know, and it was something very important. And when the captain, who I have a secret crush on, all of America knows, gave me the address, I told my husband, I'm writing.
Yay, I really appreciate that, Gigi. And you're not the only person who has pointed out that Ian is keeping a very positive
Absolutely.
state of mind.
That was wonderful to read.
Yay.
It is
All
very
the
inspiring,
activities
isn't
he's
it?
engaged in personally, collectively. It keeps his mind stimulated, his body physically fit. These are critical. As the captain has pointed out, you need to have a purpose or several purposes, because routine can become very humdrum and mundane
Yeah.
in any circumstance, right?
Right. I definitely agree.
And it's very cold here in Charleston. I'm wearing my husband's socks. I drink hot coffee and hot tea all freaking day, and the heat is on. We're not used to this weather.
What temperature is it down there?
It's in the 40s tonight. That's too cold for my... Listen, I was raised in Miami,
Yeah.
educated in California. It's too cold for me.
Yeah.
I think it's 28 degrees outside right now in New Hampshire.
Oh
at
my
least
God, you
in
can
where
have
we
it.
are.
I've been this
you
year.
can have it, ladies.
Well, thank you so much for the call, Gigi. Did you have anything else on your mind?
No, just anyone who's celebrating, have a happy and healthy Hanukkah, and soon a wonderfully healthy Christmas.
Yes. Wait,
Happy
do you celebrate
Hanukkah, Gigi.
Hanukkah, Gigi?
Yes, my husband and I, we are both Jewish, and we celebrated Hanukkah, and I gave my husband lots of goodies.
Yay. Well, thank you, and happy Hanukkah, Gigi.
Thank you very much.
It's
Yeah,
always
really
nice to hear from Gigi.
She's always in a good mood, like Ian, too, even
Yeah.
though she's suffering from 40-degree weather. It's so much
And
colder here.
I think about this sometimes, like how we pointed out how Ian is just like naturally like being very positive and kind of doing the best he can given his circumstances, right? And I think about that sometime when I just have interactions with other people in my life. I'm like, I can't, like, my friends that are literally in jail have are more positive than some of the people who have, all of these freedoms and can, they're not in jail and they can do whatever they want. And I feel like some people, it seems like they just choose to be depressed or negative, and it's like
I don't
know.
even necessarily want to say that they're choosing it, but they're not choosing to get better is usually what it is. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, oh, everyone should be happy all the time, just like Ian. It takes a lot of work, and it's not like
I'm sure he's not happy every single second of the day. You know what I mean?
I mean, but at the same time, he's not like faking it. He's not just like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
exactly.
I'm going to make the best. He really is just like, I don't know. He's a master at controlling his own emotions, but it wasn't always that way. And we were talking about this because I was telling him I'm really sad like 3 weeks ago. I was like, I just feel like really, really sad, and I don't know, like I can't change my mindset. And he was just like, Bonnie, you can do different, you can do this and that, and you can try to change your mindset. And I was like, no, I can't, because I was annoyed because of him.
And sometimes it is kind of easy to get stuck in that rut. Like if you're angry or upset or sad, like it is easy to be like, no, like, and sometimes that can be valuable to either just like cry or like dwell in your sadness for a moment, and then, but like,
For
you
a
have to
moment,
move.
though.
Yeah, like you have to move on. And I do think it does take a lot of work to kind of reframe your mind and like rewire your brain to look at things in a different way. Like it's definitely not easy. But
It's a great
it's
way
possible.
to put it. I was thinking maybe I need to like actually like have an what does Riley call it? Like a ceremony with just marijuana like all alone, because the thing I'm doing is basically just like, well, I gotta just push through and like make myself do my dishes, for example, instead of just like, well, there's gonna be some magical thing I can do that suddenly makes me happy. Like I obviously don't have that, so I've just been like drudging through things and not doing things that don't make me happy, like forcing myself to eat. Like I haven't wanted to eat, which is like not like me at all. And like just like I said, like do my dishes, vacuum, whatever. But I was thinking, because nobody mentioned to me that sometimes he just when he feels he's sad, that he just needs to like take psychedelics to reset, give himself a new perspective. And I was like, okay, I really don't want to like do a psychedelic right now. Like I don't feel like that would be like that wouldn't be a fun time. But I would take some, well, like I guess marijuana is also a psychedelic, but like a weaker one.
Yeah,
I would probably do that and just like change my mind. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. There's lots of ways that you can use to help yourself feel better, and over time, I think that if that's your goal, then you will get better at doing that. Like Ian, like the other day, Ian said to me that he just misses, in this order, me, Coconut, and his bidet, and then other than that, he's happy and he's serious. But not that he doesn't want to be out of jail or anything. He just, I don't know, circumstances don't get to him as much. So I appreciate that Gigi wrote in or called in and said that, and that she wrote to him. It's very nice.
It is really nice. And I've said this before on the show that like freedom starts in your mind. You know what I mean? Like I think that like you could have all of the like freedom in the world, but if you are in a mental prison of like your own design of, you know, like of depression or whatever, it's like you're not really free. And it is possible. It's like almost like, I know people who are literally in jail that are more free than some of the people on the outside, just because of some of the constraints that people will put in their own mind. So.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. I was looking up. Okay, I found it. If anybody wants to write to Ian and Arya, you can do so. I don't think there's a quick short version of this link, but if you go to freekeen.com, you can search writing to caged activist Ian Freeman at the Merrimack County Spiritual Retreat. Oh, wait, this is the new one. And it has information for how to write Ian there, and at the very end of the page, how to write Arya. So if you just typed in writing to Ian Freeman, Free Keen, to like Google, you could find that. There might be a short version, but no one's told me it. And I can also post these on our socials, so Twitter and all of that at Free Talk Live. You can go find it there. So tonight, before Nikki came in, we were discussing the fact that Michigan is becoming the first state. It's to join the state level effort, so maybe it's not the first state, to regulate AI political ads as federal legislation is pending. So I'm not sure exactly, like, this is the thing. It would be absolutely insane for them to try to tell you couldn't use, like, an AI-generated picture of, like, a field of flowers just for, like, you needed some B-roll for your thing. So I'm wondering if it's going to be targeted at any kind of AI or just targeted at like deep fake type AI. Like
That's what it sounds like.
So let's get into it. I haven't read this yet. It says Michigan is joining an effort to curb deceptive uses of artificial intelligence and manipulated media through state-level policies as Congress and the Federal Elections Commission continue to debate more sweeping regulations ahead of the 2024 elections. Campaigns on the state and federal level will be required to clearly say which political advertisements airing in Michigan were created using artificial intelligence under legislation expected to be signed in the coming days by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a Democrat.
So they just have to say that it was created by AI? Okay.
That's pretty easy. That's,
I mean, that kind of sounds fair. I don't think we need like legislation over this, but yeah, it just seems like that would be, best practice, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as someone creating an ad, especially if it's like deep fake style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Lori was saying, maybe it's just for if they want a picture of their opponent. But I forgot what you said.
Standing in front of a child slave factory.
Yeah. Exactly. And that would be a nice thing to do. Have this is AI generated at the bottom.
But it's also like that might be pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like,
It may be though.
Some people need to learn to use common sense, but
some of them are really like I've seen some videos where I like genuinely have to like stop and think like, is this real or not? Especially if it's something that like the person would probably say.
Right. There was
They could make a video of their opponent saying all kinds of terrible things.
Yeah.
That's not real. So
yeah, but you're like, this is a politician, so they tend to say all kinds of terrible things.
Right.
So I don't know.
Could be hidden camera footage for all I know.
Yeah,
So.
That's such a good point. If it was like, on a hot mic,
right,
Joe Biden said, "I hate black people," I'd probably believe that because the way he
I think he
treats
actually
black
did say
people.
that.
Really?
Probably. I mean, he's like a lifelong racist.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
From like when he was like a senator, like back in the day.
That's what I'm saying. So like, that's why I would believe it from all the stuff he has said. But I don't know about a hot mic saying I hate black people, but he did imply that black people can't get on the internet. That was only like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he said that he didn't want his kids growing up in a quote racial jungle, just not even on a hot mic, like out in the open.
That was a while ago,
considering
though, right?
desegregation. Yeah. Which, oh my God, he's that old. That's crazy.
That's the thing.
Very old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I forget. I think Mitch McConnell might be older than him, but I saw this video on Instagram and it was the video said, this was the Billboard #1 song the year Mitch McConnell was born, which was 1942. And it was like a big band, like swing song.
Wow, that's so funny.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, when you think of it, like, okay, yeah, 1942, like that was like World War II. That was the type of music. But it just really puts it into perspective for you. Like, these people are old as dirt.
And they're making laws for everyone
They're
else.
all about to die. Yeah, and they're making
Totally out of
laws
touch.
for your children to follow.
Right.
Like, that just doesn't seem like it's fair.
I used to know the top song when I was born, but I kind of forgot. I'll find it during the break. What do you guys know what the top song when you were born was?
I looked it up before, but kind of like you.
I did too.
I
It's
forgot.
Crosses. Who sings Crosses? It's like a rap group. No, I don't know.
I don't even-
Crossroads. I don't know. I'll figure it out
know.
later. It's a song I like listened to. I was like, wow, I've never heard this before. But it's a really popular band.
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yes, it's Bone Thugs
Yeah.
and Harmony. That was the top song when I was born, and I was like, a little disappointed. I don't know that band very well or anything. Not trying to say they're bad or something. If you like them, they're probably better than like the rap that comes out today. 603-283-6160 is the phone number if you have...
You want to know mine?
Yes.
Get Jiggy With It by Will Smith.
Whoa. Oh my God. I forgot he made music. It was like anti-cussing music. That's funny. Well, anyways, so if you have anything you want to bring up, that number is 603-283-6160. Did you find yours?
Yeah.
Oh.
I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett.
Oh, cool.
Okay, that's
a
the
good
best one. Yeah, of us three. Much better. Okay, so we're talking about Michigan. This is regulations they're considering putting in ahead of the 2024 elections. They say that deep fakes are fake media that misrepresents someone as doing or saying something they didn't. They're created using generative artificial intelligence, a type of AI that can create convincing images, videos, or audio clips in seconds. there are increasing concerns that generative AI will be used in the 2024 presidential race to mislead voters, impersonate candidates, and undermine elections on a scale and a speed not yet seen. And, there was that guy, I can't remember his name right now. I do remember, I did know his name, but I can't remember it right now. And he went to jail, I think, for 8 years, like Ian, and it's over making a meme that made Hillary Clinton look bad during the 2016 elections. So
how is that not allowed? Like, that is just free speech.
It's absolutely crazy. Like,
what did they charge him
That is insane.
with?
Like
election tampering, something like that. I don't know if that's the exact
From a
word.
meme?
Yep.
I mean,
And-
every single person on my Facebook friends list would be going to jail then.
Right.
Because they're all sharing memes, making memes,
Well,
making fun. You know what I mean?
it's not it wasn't just that it was like making fun of her. It was that it spread technically a lie. But I think, but it's still, that's totally free
like that-
speech.
Yeah.
I can
not
bring up
illegal
the
to
story
lie.
in the middle, in the next break that explains it more for people, but there's also new good news that came out about that guy, even though he did get convicted. So I hope they're not trying to do stuff like that here pretty soon. But that's the thing about regulations and laws, even if it's something that, like we were saying, like, oh, it's not that this is like a terrible thing, like to put this was created by AI on the bottom of the screen during an election ad that was created by AI. But the thing about that is now there's new laws that can be used to throw people in jail for absolutely ridiculous
That's the thing.
things.
Yeah. When you start mandating things, it can start to be misused.
Right. Why wouldn't... That's the thing. Like, we don't utilize... What's the word? Just making things not be accepted in society. We don't utilize that very much at all anymore. And
Shunning.
yeah, shunning.
That's what I tell Stu. I'm like, I wish that people would just shun each other. That'd be great. Just shun somebody. If
That's literally how it used to be in society. Like, if we go back to the 1600s in Massachusetts, when people came over and maybe they had a different religion than them or they didn't like them, they would just be like, we shun you
But that's what I was gonna say.
From Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Get out.
We're Anglo-Saxons or whatever. You're Catholic and you're Irish. We're
And that's the thing. That's obviously that's kind of immoral. So that's what I think is I think that we've moved in a good direction, but sometimes you move in a good direction away from a bad thing and then you go way too far the other way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think
For something like that.
obviously it's not cool to be racist, but if Catholics, so with my example with the Anglo-Saxons, the Catholic people came over and they're like, you have different traditions than us. We don't like what you believe in. You have a different religion. That's not very tolerant, but in order for them, they didn't want to coexist with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
so not really a cool thing to do, but it's it's
not like using force to kill someone if they're not Catholic, but it's just I think it's really messed up whenever people really think they can control people who don't live in their house.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't appreciate that you have that couch on your front yard, to use an example of Ian's life.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna use, they use the government against Ian for the couch on his front yard, but I don't know, I think people should just get over what other people are doing, if it isn't something that really affects them or isn't a big deal, but we should be shunning for things instead of using the government, like in this situation for the AI ad. 603-283-6160, what do you think? More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
I'm Brooke Alvarez, and while I may not acknowledge your presence in person, and if you try to approach me, you'll most certainly be hit in the face with the stinging nettles I carry on me at all times, I like to take a moment every now and again to answer your questions so that you can get to know the real me. Here's a tweet from @Kirkamunga saying, what is the most important thing to remember when talking to people who may not be as informed as you? I love this question, Kirkamunga. There are 3 simple steps to dealing with uninformed people. First, when you realize that someone doesn't know something, repeat very loudly in their face the thing they don't know. For example, you don't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is? Second, look to everyone around you and let them know that this person is completely ignorant. Hey everyone, Sebastian doesn't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is. Third, you call up the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe and tell him that Sebastian doesn't know who he is, and then laugh really loudly until the ignorant person just leaves in utter shame. If you'd like to ask me a question, just tweet it to my handle at Brooke Alvarez or post it to my Facebook wall.
This is the Onion News Network.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, has defied a subpoena from US lawmakers ordering him to appear behind closed doors as part of a congressional investigation into alleged corruption. Republicans in the House of Representatives have opened an impeachment inquiry into the president, accusing him of improperly benefiting from Hunter's foreign business dealings. The US Federal Reserve has left interest rates unchanged, but signalled that it plans to make 3 rate cuts next year. It follows an intense 21 months of rate hikes to try to get inflation under control. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
For the third meeting running, the Federal Reserve chose not to raise interest rates, keeping them unchanged at 5.25 to 5.5%, the highest level the Fed has reached in 22 years. More significantly, the Fed says rate cuts are coming, with a potential 3 cuts penciled in for next year. The Fed has increased interest rates 11 times since last March as it's battled to cool the economy and bring inflation back to its 2% target. It seems for now the hikes are over and cuts are the way forward for 2024. The Dow Jones jumped around 200 points on the news.
Tesla is recalling more than 2 million vehicles after an investigation found the electric car giant's autopilot safety system wasn't doing enough to ensure that drivers are paying attention on the road. Tony Waterman has more.
The recall covers nearly every model of Tesla. It comes after a 2-year investigation by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which reviewed more than 300 autopilot-involved crashes. It found that at times, drivers were unprepared to intervene when necessary, or failed to notice when autopilot was canceled or disengaged. Tesla says it doesn't agree with the agency's assessment. It's issuing a software update to all affected models.
The US Supreme Court will review a key abortion drug and consider whether to restrict access to it across the country. It puts the polarizing issue of reproductive rights back on the agenda for debate over the next year. From Washington, Caroline Malone reports.
Mifepristone is a drug that's been used by millions of people in the US to end early-term pregnancies since 2000, when it was approved by the Food and Drug Administration. Now the Supreme Court says it will hear an appeal by the Biden administration and the drug maker who want to make sure people can continue to get access to it, such as by mail, after a lower court ruled for tighter restrictions. The US top court has a 6-3 conservative-leaning majority and will likely decide by June.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call. That's 603-283-6160. And you can call that if you want to get in on the conversation with us. It's Free Talk Live. And with you in the studio tonight, it's me, Bonnie.
Lori.
Oh, sorry. I didn't unmute you guys again for some reason.
Lori.
And Nikki.
Sorry about that. But I just wanted to tell you about Dash. This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash, Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their chain locks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. And a big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn more about Dash. That's dash.org. We have been talking in the first segment of this show about Michigan. They are going to be one of the states, I'm not sure exactly how many are doing this, that are joining an effort to regulate AI in political ads. So if a political ad has, what's his name? I don't know, that strong one. I forget his name. I was trying to make a joke about the politicians, but I pay so little attention to them, I can't remember their names right now. Oh yeah, RFK body slamming a child or something, and it's AI. Well, they have to write, "This is AI," or "This is a deep fake," or whatever, at the bottom of the page, so, or something like that. And if they don't, they could be facing probably violence against them, or whoever made the ad could be. This is from apnews.com. Michigan to join state-level effort to regulate AI political ads as federal legislation is pending. They say that the Republican National Committee in April released an entirely AI-generated ad meant to show the future of the United States if President Joe Biden is reelected. Disclosing in small print that it was made with AI, it featured fake but realistic photos showing boarded-up storefronts, armored military patrol in the streets, and huge increases in immigration, creating panic. Oh my God.
Immigration.
That's ridiculous. When have you ever seen...
How do you show that in a video?
I don't know, just like brown people walking around and white people screaming. It's just, that's what I was going to say. Like, what kind of like immigration panic actually happens in the United States? Like people standing around like panicking. There's so many Mexicans here or something. That's just ridiculous. But they should be allowed to, make whatever ad they want, and then people should be allowed to make the decision that they suck if they want to. In July, Never Back Down, a super PAC. What the heck is a super PAC? I don't think I've ever heard that. A PAC is a political action committee, but I didn't know there was such a thing as a super PAC. Okay. In July, Never Back Down, a super PAC supporting Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, used an AI voice cloning tool to imitate former President Donald Trump's voice. Oh, I remember this, and he didn't know it was AI, I think. Making it seem like he narrated a social media post he made, despite never saying the statement aloud. Okay, so Donald Trump did say the thing on Twitter, but he didn't say it aloud.
Say it out loud. Okay, so...
Experts say these are just glimpses of what could ensue if campaigns or outside actors decide to use AI deepfakes in more malicious ways.
Is that supposed to be scary?
Yeah.
We made him say a thing that he actually said.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's like if I don't know, if somebody showed me one of my tweets that was really bad and I was like, yeah, well, I didn't say it out loud. Like,
yeah,
it's
like
kind of a cop-out.
Yeah, right.
I didn't ever say it out loud with my own mouth.
This keeps reminding me of, those like how they would take like Obama's voice and like make him sing a song? That was like the original like AI.
I don't know.
That's just like what it reminds me of. Like they'll do it like Obama and Donald Trump. And they'll just like, but they'll take, I think it's things they're actually saying, and they'll take like snippets from like
Jones.
speeches.
Oh,
yeah, right. They'll
I know
take
the
like
Alex
snippets.
Jones one's like the DMT. That
Yeah.
one. But I see what you're saying. And then like auto-tune it or something.
Yeah.
Yep, that is basically the same thing. Like somebody could be like, wait,
And then
you
it's
really
like-
said that?
Yeah, it's like, wait, Obama didn't really sing that song?
Yeah, but that's kind of a good point because it's like people used their brains and didn't vote thinking that Obama sang some silly auto-tuned YouTube video song.
I mean, I voted for Obama because I thought he sung Fly Like a G6.
Oh my gosh. I was like, wait, yeah, did you sing
You're
that?
like, wait, did you really?
Because I couldn't even vote for Obama yet. My first
I
voting
don't. Yeah,
was-
yeah, I probably wasn't even old enough.
Yeah, my first time was 2016, and I was 20, I think. But it says experts are saying that is just a glimpse of what could happen, what the terrible things that could happen. It says so far, states including California, Minnesota, Texas, and Washington have passed laws regulating deepfakes in political advertising. So they've already done that. Similar legislation has been introduced in Illinois, New Jersey, and New York, according to nonprofit advocacy group Public Citizen. Under Michigan's legislation, any person, committee, or other entity that distributes an advertisement for a political candidate would be required to clearly state if it uses generative AI. The disclosure would need to be in the same font size as the majority of the text in print ads and would need to appear for at least 4 seconds in letters that are as large as the majority of the text. In television ads, according to a legislative analysis from the State House Fiscal Agency. Deepfakes used within 90 days of the election would require a separate disclaimer informing the viewer that the content is manipulated to depict speech or conduct that did not occur. If the media is a video, the disclaimer would need to be clearly visible and appear throughout the video's entirety. That's a little weird. Why would it need to be... Oh, the disclaimer, sorry. Okay, I see now. That was saying that the generative AI would need to appear throughout the video's entirety. But basically, I just think this is something that is kind of silly altogether. Like, yeah, some people could get, deceived by it, but then the other people could make a statement like, I didn't say that. And then it kind of makes them look bad. Like, this already happened, actually. It was not the one from July. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the one from July because that seemed on purpose, but DeSantis's campaign was saying that Trump did or said something that he did not do or say. And then it turned out that it was AI and he had to apologize.
When it just makes you lose credibility.
Right, exactly. So that's the thing. Like, Donald Trump was able to respond and be like, that didn't happen. That's AI. And then he was like,
it's easy enough to handle these things. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it. He's like, okay, that wasn't really me. This is proof that it wasn't me. And now you look like an idiot.
And what they could do is just talk about what they're going to do and how they're going to make things better instead of just slamming their opponent the entire time.
Yeah.
That is what they usually do.
That whole culture of like, I'm going to slam my opponent. They do it with like restaurants and politics and just everything. And it's gross.
Sometimes it's funny.
Like you have to make the other person look bad so you look good. That doesn't say a lot about you.
Yeah.
Sometimes
no, I completely agree.
It can be funny sometimes with like restaurants and stuff. I can't think of exactly the brands, but whenever brands like do that really edgy advertising, like Burger King's Twitter is usually really funny, and they make fun of McDonald's. Sometimes that's funny.
Yeah.
But that's also like fast food compared to like politicians.
It's not politics. Right?
Human beings, yeah.
That's where it started though. Like it started there, and then politics was like, well, let's just do that too.
Like, well, it worked for Burger King.
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah. So true. Well, there's a lot more for this article, but basically I feel like we already have our opinions. We know what they're planning to do, and it's probably going to pass because I think those other states, there was like 5 other states that already passed those things. Before you were here, Nikki, Lori and I were discussing, is it mostly boomers that fall for fake AI? Like,
yeah,
I see a lot of videos where it's like, oh, me showing my older parent a video and it's Donald Trump, or not Donald Trump, like Joe Biden literally saying like, I smoke weed every day and stuff like that. And they're like, oh my God, he really said that? It's right there in the video. Like they believe it,
Yeah, they don't understand.
But I could believe that younger people would be falling for it too. It's just people like to prank their older parents on TikTok and stuff.
And that's the thing. Like, it depends like how believable the statement is, I guess, and like how good the AI is.
This was
smart. The people are.
The one I'm referring is like, oh my God, it was referring
so
to
bad,
was so not believable. It wasn't just him saying like, I smoke weed every day. It was like him going on and on. Oh, he was talking about like being on, like beating people in what's that video game, the war video game, Call of Duty, and just being absolutely ridiculous and like on a stage, like at a pulpit, and it was so funny. And the old person, whoever it was that was watching it, maybe like a grandma or something, they were just like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. And I don't know.
They should have known that it was fake because they were coherent sentences.
Right.
That's a good point.
Also, like, these people are voting.
Right.
Can we talk about that? Like, the people who like watch a video of Joe Biden saying that he's smoking weed or whatever, these people are voting.
Do they still outnumber everybody else?
Probably, absolutely, yeah. Oh, with the boomers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
The voting population, at least.
Well, I still think...
Not like it matters. What are our options right now? Like, it doesn't even matter who wins because they all suck.
Oh, I kept thinking that the guy who went to prison for a meme, I kept thinking his name was Matt, but no, it's Douglas Mackey. And this website's not coming up. So this is just from the United States Attorney's Office. It says, social media influencer Douglas Mackey. I didn't know he was like an influencer. Sentenced after conviction for election interference in 2016 presidential race. There's an update, but just for anybody who doesn't know about this story, I'm going to read what the FBI or whatever. No, this is the Justice Department, I guess. Department of Justice. I'm going to read what they said about him getting, put in prison for this. It was October 18th, 2023. I thought it was way before that. So maybe it was just like he got convicted a while ago and he finally got sentenced. That's probably what it is. Says defendant attempted to trick voters into believing they could vote by text message. That's what it was. That's why they're saying it's worse than just, oh, you said something mean about Hillary Clinton. It was... He
went to jail over this?
Yeah. He made a meme.
That is so crazy.
That said something... Well, I'll tell you exactly what it says instead of trying to guess. It says... Mackey was convicted of the charge in March following a 3-week trial. Breon Peace, United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York... Okay, all these other people, all these stupid lawyers, it says announced the sentence. That's a long freaking sentence to have to make me read just so you can list all your names and get credits. So stupid. Quote, one of the foundational rights we hold as Americans, a right that many fought so hard to obtain, is the right to vote. The defendant weaponized disinformation in a dangerous scheme to stop targeted groups, including Black and brown people and women, from participating in our democracy.
No, and I hate this, and they always do this, where they want to pretend like women and Black people are stupid.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
That's what I got from that, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 40-year-old white men aren't like the superior, intelligent population. You know what I mean? And it was the same thing with the needing ID to vote or whatever, or whatever they wanted to do, or like the in-person voting, how they didn't want to do the mail-in voting. They're like, oh, it's discriminating against Black people because they're too dumb to be able to use a computer. Like, no, they're not.
Right.
Yep.
You're just racist.
What's his name? Bill. Oh my God, Joe Biden actually said that. I can't remember politicians' names today. Yep, he was like, they can't get online. They don't know how to get online. Something like that. It's
like, and it's like also like, how disconnected are you from like what is really going on? Even like the poorest people have like cable and internet these days. You know what I mean? Like it's
if not,
it's very accessible
and Subway and Target.
And like a smartphone. Like everybody has a smartphone. Everyone. It's like just use your data or whatever. It's like it's just so out of touch with reality.
I just reading ahead a little bit, I can see why they said that he was like targeting Black people. If you look at the exact text of one of the images, like he was trying to make. But the thing is, I think he was using. I don't know if it's the same as targeting Black. It shouldn't be illegal. I don't think this should be illegal, but I think that it's not as much that he just didn't want Black people to get to vote as he knows that the majority of Black people are Democrats, and he's using that whole he's just using marketing against them. Like it's popular to make images that look like that people will share because they want to look woke and they're helping out Black people. So here's what it says. For example, on November 1st, 2016, in or around the same time that Mackey was sending tweets suggesting the importance of limiting Black turnout. Oh, wow. Okay, so I guess he said that? I mean, we would have to know what the tweet said. That's what the freaking FBI is saying, It says the defendant tweeted an image depicting an African-American woman standing in front of an African Americans for Hillary sign. The ad stated, avoid the line, vote from home, text Hillary to 59925. But seriously, if you see a meme online that says text Hillary to 59925 and you really believe that that's how you can vote for president, like, oh my goodness, like, do you deserve to be running everybody else's lives by voting? Not really. It says, and vote for Hillary and be a part of history. The fine print at the bottom of the deceptive image stated, must be 18 or older to vote. 1 vote per person. Must be a legal citizen of the United States. Voting by text not available in Guam, Puerto Rico, Alaska, or Hawaii.
Pick your American Idol.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
Right.
It sounds like American Idol.
How would they think that would work? Like, how would they think that the government would be able to know that only one person was voting? Like,
either way, it's just
so
like
stupid.
I don't know. Like, even if people were falling for it, it's like this doesn't warrant any sort of criminal charges.
That's all
it's
on you.
Literally like a meme.
Right.
It's the internet. Even if he was like, oh, I hope people like fall for it, even if that was his intention,
even if
literally
he said,
doesn't matter.
Even if he said, I hope black people fall for it.
It doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't make him spend, I think, 8 years in prison.
Insane. No. That is so insane.
And like, it's not like I'm saying that's a good thing to do, a nice thing to do, anything like that. But I think people do also need to understand that when you're voting for Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Gary Johnson, it doesn't matter. You're voting to control other people's lives. So if we're going to talk about morality, neither side is really moral here. It says, on or about Election Day, he was using a slogan frequently used by Clinton that was hashtag I'm with her, and thousands of unique telephone numbers texted Hillary or some derivative to 59925. That text number, which had been used in multiple deceptive campaign images tweeted by Mackey and his co-conspirators. It was a conspiracy too, so he's going to get conspiracy charges. Several hours after tweeting the first image, Mackey tweeted an image depicting a woman seated at a conference room typing a message on her cell phone. This deceptive image was written in Spanish and mimicked a font used by the Clinton campaign in authentic ads. The image also used a copy of the Clinton campaign's logo and the hashtag I'm with her hashtag. This case was investigated by the FBI. Well, does it say how long he went to jail? What? Was sentenced to 7 months in prison. I thought that it was a lot longer than that. I don't know why I thought he got like 8 years.
I mean, even that is insane.
It's insane, yeah. But I thought that he got like years because in the middle of it, I guess this was October, so he went to jail, but the new update to it that I was going to bring up was that he got let out pending his appeal. So that's a really good thing. Even if he's not like a very good person, maybe he just maybe there's proof out there that he really hates black people and he's not a good person and I wouldn't like him in real life. He doesn't deserve to be in a cage.
Yeah.
For speech. That's just all that is. I don't care if he mimicked a font Hillary Clinton used. I don't care if people fell for it. He said a thing. Other people didn't use their brains and tried to vote via text because of a meme they saw online.
Right. I have a problem with a lot of the people being punished for other people's actions. You can say whatever you want. Like there was that girl that told her boyfriend to kill himself, and he did.
Yeah.
And she went to jail for it. She didn't kill him. He killed himself.
Yeah.
So I don't, people should be responsible. That's where all these problems stem from. Lack of education and lack of responsibility. Personal responsibility.
And that's the thing that we could use shunning. Like, it's absolutely messed up and I wouldn't be friends with or tell that girl it was okay that she told her boyfriend to kill himself. And she really was like, go do it. Like, you're being a P word. You're like, you need to go do this. Like, she was really convincing him. I still don't think that she deserves to be in jail because he killed himself.
He did it himself.
She wasn't even in the same room or anything.
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So
yeah, she should be shunned.
Same thing.
She should be shunned. Everyone should just exile her from society.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long she got, but I did not know that was only 7 months. For some reason, I really believed that it was a long time. I was trying to see any information about the guy getting out pending appeal, but it's just kind of hard to do that while I'm sitting here. But he says, I'm gratified by today's ruling and look forward to the Second Circuit's resolution of the important questions presented by my appeal. And he posted that to X. I hate using that term. I was hoping that he would just change his mind and decide to turn it back to Twitter, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I hate calling it X. It's absolutely stupid. But yeah, so he did get let out, and I'm happy about that. That's that update on that guy, Douglas Mackey, who's in jail for a meme. And, I don't care that somebody tries to make somebody else lose an election. It's just like, Hillary Clinton's a disgusting lady. You know what's the most disgusting thing about Hillary Clinton that I hate more than like anything she's ever done when she like had power was when she was a defendant, a public defender, right? Okay, sorry. A public defender, not a defendant. There was this little girl who was like 8 and got raped to where she almost died in like the middle of nowhere in Arkansas. And Hillary Clinton was the defender of the men who were accused of raping her. Mm-hmm. Well, Hillary Clinton then just like, do what she had to do because she's a public defender, and I understand all that. Like, well, you got to sign to this. You got to be the defender. It's not like I'm like, oh, she shouldn't have taken that. No, everybody deserves counsel because, he's innocent until proven guilty. But she went out of her way to like do all these disgusting things, like yell at the girl, tell the girl she's a liar, and she's like 8-year-old who got raped and almost died.
I didn't hear about this.
I can't remember like all the details, but whenever I read that story, I was like, I hate her. She's like disgusing. Like she
Soulless.
went above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like absolutely traumatized that.
That's like
because she's a grown lady now, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
it
that's
really is.
like really, really sick.
Yeah, I hate Hillary Clinton. She's like a gross
Hillary
person.
Clinton sucks.
So I really don't care what somebody does to her, like almost at all, nearly at all.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, shunning. We don't like you because you're a bad person. So
Right.
He's gonna make this meme,
right?
Telling people to text to vote for you. You know what I mean? It's like,
I can't believe that that's something that somebody went to prison over, even if it's 7 months or whatever. It's not a whole year. Nobody deserves to be put in a cage for that. Well, more coming up on Free Talk Live here in a second, because the government that runs our country and runs our lives is asking the important questions. Does a potato count as a vegetable? The new polarizing food debate coming up next on Free Talk Live. Don't go anywhere.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, has defied a subpoena from US lawmakers ordering him to appear behind closed doors as part of a congressional investigation into alleged corruption. Republicans in the House of Representatives have opened an impeachment inquiry into the president, accusing him of improperly benefiting from Hunter's foreign business dealings. The US Federal Reserve has left interest rates unchanged, but signalled that it plans to make 3 rate cuts next year. It follows an intense 21 months of rate hikes to try to get inflation under control. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
For the third meeting running, the Federal Reserve chose not to raise interest rates, keeping them unchanged at 5.25 to 5.5%, the highest level the Fed has reached in 22 years. More significantly, the Fed says rate cuts are coming, with a potential 3 cuts penciled in for next year. The Fed has increased interest rates 11 times since last March as its battle to cool the economy and bring inflation back to its 2% target. It seems for now the hikes are over and cuts are the way forward for 2024. The Dow Jones jumped around 200 points on the news.
Tesla is recalling more than 2 million vehicles after an investigation found the electric car giant's autopilot safety system wasn't doing enough to ensure that drivers are paying attention on the road. Tony Waterman has more.
The recall covers nearly every model of Tesla. It comes after a 2-year investigation by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which reviewed more than 300 autopilot-involved crashes. It found that at times, drivers were unprepared to intervene when necessary, or failed to notice when autopilot was canceled or disengaged. Tesla says it doesn't agree with the agency's assessment. It's issuing a software update to all affected models.
The US Supreme Court will review a key abortion drug and consider whether to restrict access to it across the country. It puts the polarizing issue of reproductive rights back on the agenda for debate over the next year. From Washington, Caroline Malone reports.
Mifepristone is a drug that's been used by millions of people in the US to end early-term pregnancies since 2000, when it was approved by the Food and Drug Administration. Now the Supreme Court says it will hear an appeal by the Biden administration and the drug maker who want to make sure people can continue to get access to it, such as by mail, after a lower court ruled for tighter restrictions. The US top court has a 6-3 conservative-leaning majority and will likely decide by June.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today reviewing COP28 as it clatters to a close in Dubai. The climate change conference went into overtime after the first draft declaration drawn up by the hosts in the United Arab Emirates infuriated environmentalists by omitting any reference to the phasing out of the use of fossil fuels. Former US Vice President Al Gore called this year's COP the biggest failure in world history. Professor Sir David King, chairman of the Independent Climate Crisis Advisory Group, agrees.
I've just come back from the COP meeting myself, and what was terribly disappointing, and I mean, I just can't express my frustration, is the lack of understanding from the leadership, and I mean United States, even China, and China's doing pretty well, but the United States and China, to get across the understanding that we have a crisis. And this is a crisis that impacts every single person on this planet. It also impacts all living things. So what we have is a response which is almost 2 fingers to the crisis.
Among those put in a difficult position by the COP's draft declaration, US climate czar John Kerry. Just 2 weeks ago, he defended the decision for the conference to be chaired by the man who also heads the UAE's national oil company. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
Our main news again. US President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, has defied a subpoena from US lawmakers ordering him to appear behind closed doors as part of a congressional investigation into alleged corruption. Republicans in the House of Representatives have opened an impeachment inquiry into the president, accusing him of improperly benefiting from Hunter's foreign business dealings. And the US Federal Reserve has left interest rates unchanged. And that's the latest feature story news. Kate Fisher reporting.
It's now been 7 days since a group of hikers went missing in Maine's Acadia National Park, but rescue crews there are still holding out hope of finding them alive. Autistic reporter Michael Falk is on the scene there. Michael.
Hello, Brooke. My socks got wet. That cameraman gave me new socks. I am fine.
That's good, Michael, but what's the situation there?
The names of the hikers are Casey Allman, Brian Emery, Ashley Thorson. The hikers were last seen 174 hours ago. Since then, 3 very big storms have hit here. There's a 1.24% chance that all of the hikers are alive. Why are you looking for the hikers?
Well, we're still hopeful that we might be able to find them. There's been a break in the weather, so we're hoping that...
Over the past 7 days, the average high temperature has been 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the past 7 days, the average low temperature has been 6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. So we did another sweep of the park from the air, but we didn't see anything.
Without shelter, the human body can withstand temperatures this cold for a maximum of 3 hours. Is there shelter in the forest for the hikers?
Not that we know of.
They are frozen.
Well, we like
Shh. This is the Onion News Network.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie. I did it again. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I keep only unmuting myself when I come in, but...
So selfish of you.
So there is me in the studio tonight, Bonnie.
Lori.
And Nikki.
And I wanted to tell you guys about ForkFest 2024. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual ForkFest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. ForkFest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there is no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. forkfest.party. And so, in the last segment, we were talking about AI and boomers and a man that went to prison for a meme in 2016. Well, that he made in 2016. And now he's out on appeal, so that's pretty good. And now, the next thing we want to tell you about is, I think you said it was Colorado?
Colorado, yeah.
Banning fat shaming or something like that.
Oh, that's lame.
Something like that.
So this is from thehill.com. It says, Colorado to ban fatphobia discrimination in workplace and housing. Several other states are looking at similar laws. Lawmakers in Colorado, America's healthiest state, are expected to pass legislation that bans bias based on fatphobia to prevent employers and landlords from discriminating against those who are overweight. Fatphobia is defined as the aversion to fatness or fat people.
How could you even prove that?
It's silly anyway. I go out in the world and I see people. I don't see any employers not employing fat people.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's I don't know. Like I'm sure like some
maybe.
Yeah, or like I remember I worked at a restaurant once and then it like dawned on me like a few months into working there, like all of the servers, like all the female servers were like blonde hair and then all of the male servers and bartenders were all like brown hair with a beard. Like everybody looked the same, and I was like, this is kind of weird.
He probably
so
did. Whoever hired people probably had a preference. For
yeah,
those type of
like you
girls.
could tell, and it was the same hiring manager. Like you could tell this guy like just was more like, whether it was like subconscious or not, he was
That would be even
attracted to
crazier,
this type of
actually.
people. Yeah, like I don't think it was conscious either. I mean, it might have been, but it was just like a weird. Would have been a really strange coincidence, but
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
But yeah, plenty of fat
Shouldn't be
people are
illegal.
employed.
There's plenty of fat people that are employed. And then this also opens up doors to things like, say you are a server, like a server job, and someone comes in who weighs 400 pounds and wants to apply for the job. They're not going to be able to do the job.
No, it's like you can't even
Not
fit
without-
in the dish room. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you can't fit in the small spaces
Right.
that like it would just be like impractical.
And even if you could fit in whatever in the entire room that you need to be in, it does say something about you, unlike your skin color. Like you being 400 pounds says something about the way you act and conduct yourself more than, oh, you were born with this skin color.
Yeah,
you know,
nobody was born 400 pounds.
Yeah.
But you can't even do a lot of jobs without serious accommodations. And then you're going to make your choices the problem of employers or landlords. Like they have to build a wheelchair ramp for you because you can't walk anymore. Or
Oh my
like,
goodness.
you know, or like give you special, you don't have to do all of your duties that your coworkers would have to do.
Because your knees
because
are hurting.
Yeah, because your knees hurt. Or you like physically can't fit into a space. Like Nikki said, like the dish rooms are real small, tight spaces. It's just silly.
And that's the thing. Like I understand there having to be like ramps for people with wheelchairs and stuff like that who are definitely like customers. Like I understand that. I don't think people should be threatened with force over it. It should be like a shunning thing. Like, oh, those people refuse to put a wheelchair ramp over there for my friend that has a wheelchair. Like I'm not gonna shop there anymore. You know.
Right.
But I don't understand people being forced to give any kind of accommodations for somebody that they're being forced to hire. That is just terrible. Like if you would just rather not, it's not necessary if you hire the other person, so you choose to hire them instead of this one. It's pretty messed up. Like
it's just going to become like affirmative action where, oh, we have to have a certain number of fat people now. So I can't give the job to this person who is better for the job. I have to give it to that person over there because they have a higher BMI. Like it doesn't make any sense.
And I'm sorry, but I've been saying for a long time that like really fat people like to complain that their lives are really hard for like just getting made fun of and stuff like that. But not only is it like in their control, so that's one part that annoys me, but I would say being like super skinny got me the same amount of things they complain about. Like when I was in high school, I was like 80 pounds in 11th grade and 85 pounds. And I would go to like all the stores all my friends shopped at, and just like there weren't clothes that would fit me in some categories, which is the same thing that like, you know, fat girls would complain about. Only the thing is like they would specifically be like, Brandy Melville chooses to make small clothes. They don't do that anymore because that's super unwoke nowadays.
I'm really tall. I have a problem finding clothes too. I got made fun of for being tall. Everyone's made fun of for something.
And like other girls would be like, are you anorexic? And I'd be like, no. I just don't eat meat or anything that's good for me, and I am, I guess, starving technically.
Well,
probably.
and like really, like it's easier to lose weight than it is to gain weight in most cases. Like with people who are like very thin and they just like have a really like hyperactive thyroid or high metabolism or whatever. I mean, we're talking about people who are like obese too, not like, oh, you're overweight. Like, no, you're like 400 pounds. Like you had to try to get that fat. Like that's not just like, oh, I have a slow metabolism, or, oh, I'm kind of like, I don't really,
PCOS
exercise that much.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
That's like a slight increase in your weight. That's not 400 pound status.
And something I hadn't thought about until just before the show, Lori and I were talking about this. If I buy something that is like my size compared to something that is a 4X or whatever, 4XL or whatever, they're going to price that item for the amount of fabric it takes.
Well, they should,
for it to cover the cost of the 4X. They're not going to price the smaller one for a reasonable price for like, my pants fitting one leg of the biggest people's pants. No, I'm basically subsidizing, like the smaller sized people who are buying the same outfit are subsidizing the bigger people, because it would just be embarrassing if it was like, oh, the large in this is $10. The extra large is $11. People would just be like, ugh, I have to pay more because I'm bigger?
Yes.
Because you take more fabric.
Yes, because you take more fabric and more work.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I never really thought of it like that. Like, now I feel super marginalized.
There's so many like videos nowadays where like fat people will be like, this is what it's like to travel as a fat woman. And they're just like, all these airlines like need bigger seats and all this stuff. And they like, I need to ask for a seatbelt extender and it's embarrassing. And I requested, I messaged the airline before, like when I booked the tickets, to please have a seatbelt extender. Wait, you're lucky they even make them.
Yeah, right.
Like you're lucky it even exists.
Make your own fat airline.
Yeah, like I just
seats
don't, and they're like
bigger seatbelts.
It's just crazy.
Or just like
buy two seats.
First class.
I don't know what to tell you. It's first class. Like it's not the rest of our. It's not my problem that you're obese,
including people who are
really
working.
Not.
And all you have to do to lose weight is to not do something. You just don't eat as much.
Yeah, it's like you eat 10,000 calories a day. Why just don't
do less of that?
Just do less of that. Like cut it down to like 2,000.
Yep.
Roughly, like the rest of us,
right?
And you'll be fine.
Yep.
And I can totally understand that food can be somewhat of like an addiction, but I bet those same people wouldn't be happy if they had to accommodate for people who were like addicted to meds issues all day, and they shouldn't have to.
They're the
I
first people to be
requested.
like, I'm not going to carry Narcan because of heroin addicts, but you better have seatbelt extenders. For me.
It's like I requested that there would be a crack pipe waiting for me. On the airline.
I was too
messaged the
embarrassed to
airline.
ask in front of people. Now I had to ask in front of people.
It's like, no one else is doing this. It's like so many people have like legit diseases. And it's like no one's this unreasonable. It's just like, the fat entitlement that has like developed. And now we're making legislation over it. Like, what?
I had a very obese 5th grade teacher who was like super mean. And, she had us like all in trouble one day because this is actually really kind of sad. And I wasn't taking part of it, but there was this girl and this boy in our class that were really, really poor and even like smelled bad. And there was like this thing where the kids were being like, I think they were calling it, I don't think it's the cheese touch, but there's this thing called the cheese touch I don't think it was that. I think they were just calling it cooties, and I'm mixing things up because I don't even know if that book came out that day. But anyways, they were saying like, oh, you're going to get Justin germs or whatever his name was, and the other girl germs. And that came to the attention of the teacher. So she sat us all down and talked about bullying, and everybody was kind of this is what really pissed me off so much in public school, especially elementary school, was like, I hated being in trouble for other kids. The whole class had to be in trouble because some kids were doing that. But so she talked to us.
The degradation of personal responsibility.
Right, that's so
exactly.
true.
Yeah.
So
starts in preschool.
The teacher was telling us about like bullying, like she was getting onto us for bullying because of that whole thing. And then she started saying like, I'm fat. Listen, I know I'm fat. I'm obese. But the reason I'm this way, you might look at me and think I'm lazy or something, but I'm not. Like, I had cancer and then I had to lay in bed for a long time and then I got really fat. But it's just like other people do that and don't.
Skinny?
Maybe it wasn't cancer, but some disease.
Whatever. I mean,
I don't know what
maybe,
it was.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I'm just...
But eat less calories. If you're expending less calories, eat less calories.
Yeah,
that's all there is to that.
It's just like so many people who gain weight for some medical reason and then they lose it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's like, I'm not saying we should like bully people because they're fat.
No, but it's not my responsibility either.
Yeah.
Right. I just like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, I don't know. I think she really wanted us to feel like there's like absolutely no way she could have been not like 450 pounds. There was just no way. But is that all from the article about the, what is it, Colorado, right?
Yeah, it's in Colorado. So it says, fatphobia is defined as the aversion to fatness or fat people. The law aims to prevent landlords from denying rentals based on weight limits and to implement workplace accommodations for overweight Americans. So that's another thing, denying rentals due to weight limits. Say your house literally can't support that kind of weight. So a bathroom, you have a giant ceramic piece of furniture, basically, the tub, and then you fill it with hundreds of gallons of water, and then you put another 400 whatever pounds in there. Maybe the house can't take that.
Wow.
I'm just like,
so do
they're
you have
saying
to
you
build
can't do
more?
that anymore?
You cannot have weight limits in your house.
I haven't even like ever thought about
That
needing.
is crazy.
Like I'm like,
yeah,
I've
know.
never fathomed that someone would be that fat that it's like the weight
take a
limit
bath.
is like 500 pounds and you have exceeded that.
Right.
Whoa. I often
or
step
like
into
elevators.
Oh yeah, I think about it on elevators, but sometimes I like get into the bathtub and I think like, oh my god, what if it fell into the next floor right now? Like that'd be so scary. But I don't know. Even then I wasn't thinking about like, oh, that's actually possible with some people.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But they're gonna make that illegal? That's absolutely unfathomable.
Yeah, so you'd have to put like extra supports in your house so you can rent to this
What?
person because now you can't deny them.
Well, and it's like,
Whoa.
no, if you break my bathtub because you're so fat, like you're paying for that.
That's a problem, right?
Yeah,
That's a
people actually
problem.
break toilet seats, like
Yep, breaking toilet
Yeah,
seats.
that's pretty
toilet
common.
seats from
Yeah.
being too big.
Mm-hmm.
I know people personally who have done that.
I do too. That's
And
why I
they
brought
weren't
it
even
up.
that fat.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, how fat do you have to be? Because like this one girl I know,
Maybe
she's
like
pretty
300 pounds.
big. Yeah,
That's kind of fat though. That's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
fat.
I also watch my 600-pound life.
yeah.
So like
That's, like,
my
really
standards for like really fat has gone up.
I
There was one episode. I didn't watch the full episodes. I watched like the clips on YouTube. Just whatever.
Mhm.
Keep me occupied sometimes.
I might do
And
that like tonight.
there was a 26-year-old man, 26, and he weighed 940 pounds.
Oh my
No.
goodness.
And there was like a scene that
That's
they
like
showed.
a horse.
How do you almost weigh 1,000 pounds? Like how?
That's
So
crazy.
and there's a scene where he's in a wheelchair like crying because he's like, I'm in so much pain. And it's like, dude, it's hard to feel bad for you.
Yeah.
You weigh almost 1,000
You
pounds.
did this to yourself.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy, and yeah, it is hard to feel bad for him. Like,
Yeah.
I still do feel bad for him
Yeah.
that he's in pain, but I don't feel like it's not his fault or that
Yeah.
bad for. I don't feel as bad for him as I feel for somebody who's just born with a disease that makes them
Yeah.
in pain. You know.
So that's how I feel about all addictions. Like I have empathy for people that are addicted to food or heroin or
Yeah.
whatever, but I don't. It's not really. It's your choice.
Yeah.
You're making the choice every single time you do the thing.
Yeah.
You are making a conscious choice
Yep.
to give in.
And I think like the whole rhetoric, especially with like substance abuse, the whole rhetoric of oh, it's a disease, it's not your fault. The 12 steps where they're like, you have no responsibility, God.
It's
Like that's
not
the
a
whole
disease.
thing. And like that's the thing where it's like,
I'm never going to wake up one day addicted to heroin.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you had to do that. Like you have to do the thing before you get like legit addicted to it. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, you could have had so much trauma and like so many
Predisposition.
things. Yeah, predisposition, like all of
Fine.
these things, like that's real. But like to tell people that, oh, your brain is just different than everyone else's, that has created such a society of people who are now addicted to things because they think like, oh, well, my brain chemistry, like this is something that is completely out of my control.
yeah.
I'm predisposed to diabetes. You know what I do? I don't eat Oreos and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I don't. I
all
just try
day.
to eat good.
Yeah. No, and it's like with anything,
Yeah. Right.
So
Like
I
it's
don't
the same
know.
thing as depression. Like there was
Yeah.
absolute proof that last year, and people were still fighting with me on Twitter about saying like I was like, oh, I always knew this was true.
Yeah,
That
of course.
it's not true that some people are just born with a imbalance in their brain and they'll always be depressed and they always need SSRIs. Like I just have never believed that, and it came
No.
out to be true.
I'm
that-
sure the SSRIs cause an imbalance in your brain.
right?
yeah.
You know what
And
I mean? Like,
possibly
yeah,
even
you were
permanently.
fine. Yeah, you were fine until you started taking all of these drugs to like mess with your brain chemicals. And I mean, like antidepressants work for some people, and that's fine if like that's how you want to handle that. But yeah, the rhetoric of, oh, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Your brain is wired differently than everybody else, and there's nothing you can do to control this. That is absolutely doing a disservice to people. And
Yep.
the reason why that rhetoric was even created was to make people dependent on
Right.
substances.
So that way they can, have to keep buying this for the rest of their life to feel like they're going to function properly.
Yeah.
And also just because like it benefits the government so much for people to feel like they're victims and other people need to take care of them, because
Yeah.
if they get in that state about something, then they'll feel about it. They'll be more likely to feel that way about other things, including like, oh, I can't be in be responsible for my own safety. I need somebody else to do it. So I guess I'm going to have the government do it,
That's what all government systems are designed to do, is to make people feel like they need someone to tell them what to do.
Right.
Yeah. The school systems, the government jobs and stuff. Like, I worked in 2000, a long time ago. I worked for the census, and it's just a whole bunch of hand-holding.
You were like knocking on doors?
No, I worked in the office. I was like one of the supervisors for the door knocker people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hand-holding. It's just hand-holding everything. Like, they turn in all their paperwork and you have to like go over it, and you have to have little meetings with them constantly about how to knock on a door and ask questions.
Oh my goodness.
Infantilizing everything.
My dad, he was in the military for like 27 years or something like that. And he was getting in trouble a lot towards the end because he was like, listen, there are like certain ways they want us to do things, and they want us to do that exact way, even if I realize, oh, there's a better way to do this. And I start telling my clinic, like he was a medic, like, we're going to do it this way because it's better and faster and more efficient and makes more sense. Well, then he would get in trouble with his higher ups who were like, no, you're not doing it. And he couldn't like convince them like, oh, well, what if we change this and start doing it this way? It's better for my, like, the thing was we lived in the middle of nowhere. So they had the same rules for everyone in the country that had a similar job, even though where I lived was just different in lots of ways. So like, they were just like, if I don't know, it's just ridiculous. I don't have an exact example, but that's what the government is like in every single little bureaucratic office. That's what's going on. If somebody tries to do something a better way, well, no, you have to check all the checklists in order.
And that's why these systems are like so archaic, because there's no ability for like growth and development.
Common sense.
No innovation.
There's no innovation at all. And when people are in there, like when people hold these positions that do have some sort of like creativity or some sort of like brain, and they're not just like, mindless robots, and they try to like innovate or do things that are, like, oh, this will like increase productivity, like you would in any other like business or industry.
Yeah.
They get punished for it. It's like, no, you're just supposed to do things exactly the way, like this is just the way we do them, and maybe we can change it, but you need to apply to the committee, and you need to go through all of these safeguards before we can even implement any change, so it never happens, or it takes like years to happen.
In the military, they're just like, we thought we basic training this out of you. Continue slave,
Well, and it's kind of like the same, like even with like hospitals, like you might think those are private entities, but they're not, because they are so heavily regulated by the government.
It takes so much government money.
Yeah, and it's like if any nurse was like, oh, I'm going to do this a different way because it's better for the patient, it's like, no, you can't, because it's against hospital policy, and we can't change hospital policy until we ask all of these people's permission. And at that point, it's like, well, it's irrelevant because this patient is not my patient anymore. You know what I mean? Like
and the people that they ask don't even know.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah,
they don't
they're
work
not
in that field.
Exactly.
They're just some person.
It's a huge joke. The whole thing is a huge joke.
So the article continues. Fat acceptance is a growing trend in the U.S., with major cities enacting legislation to protect those who are overweight. New York enacted a similar fatphobia law last week. As U.S. obesity rates continue to increase, Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Jersey are also considering similar laws. The Rocky Mountain State is the skinniest in the country, boasting the lowest obesity percentage at 25%.
I was wondering that. I was going to say, so only 25% of Coloradans are fat. It makes sense. It's like such an outdoorsy place. But I was wondering if New Hampshire was one of them, because I started thinking, I used to live in San Antonio, Texas, so I see a lot fewer fat people now than I did when I lived there.
We have like a very different diet up here, I think.
There is totally a noticeable difference between how many fat people are there and here. So I wondered if this is like the skinniest state. We should find a list. Whenever we come back, we can bring that up. 603-283-6160. We're going to continue this story about fat acceptance. Should you go to jail for rejecting fat people? 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. House of Representatives has voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
All 221 House Republicans voted to move forward with the impeachment inquiry, while all 212 Democrats were in opposition. The inquiry against President Biden will give them more power to gather evidence ahead of a possible impeachment attempt early next year. Republicans have long alleged corruption in the Biden administration, much of it centered around the president's son Hunter Biden's business dealings, although they have yet to present any conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. In a statement, Biden said Republicans were wasting time on what he called a baseless political stunt. The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal that could undo hundreds of charges stemming from the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, including against former President Donald Trump. The justices will review a charge of obstruction of an official proceeding that has been brought against more than 300 people. FSN's Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The decision to weigh in on the obstruction charge by the US's highest court could delay the start of Mr. Trump's trial, which is scheduled to take place in Washington in March. The Supreme Court's ultimate ruling, which may not arrive until June, could severely limit efforts by the special counsel Jack Smith to hold the former president accountable for the violence of his supporters at the Capitol. It could also invalidate convictions that have already been secured against hundreds of them. Separately, the Supreme Court's considering whether to rule quickly on Mr. Trump's claim that he can't be prosecuted for actions taken within his role as president. Kate Fisher, Washington.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has left interest rates unchanged, but signaled it plans to make 3 rate cuts next year. It follows an intense 21 months of rate hikes to try and get inflation under control. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
For the third meeting running, the Federal Reserve chose not to raise interest rates, keeping them unchanged at 5.25 to 5.5%, the highest level the Fed has reached in 22 years. More significantly, the Fed says rate cuts are coming, with a potential 3 cuts penciled in for next year. The Fed has increased interest rates 11 times since last March as its battle to cool the economy and bring inflation back to its 2% target. It seems for now the hikes are over and cuts are the way forward for 2024. The Dow Jones jumped around 200 points on the news. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori, and Nikki.
I unmuted you guys this time. I wanted to tell you guys about the AMPS program. Free Talk Live does a thing called the AMPS program, and it stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support Free Talk Live. I've been saying that wrong. and a lovely fan of ours texted in the chat at Odyssey, or is it Odyssey? Element, I forget what they call that. Matrix. They texted in the Matrix chat to let me know that I was saying it wrong. I was saying that it's for amplifying, marketing, promoting, and supporting Free Talk Live. But no, it's advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. But you know what? I think people got the point. So you can go to amps.freetalklive.com if you want to learn how you can sign up to help us and support the show. And I would like to thank Glenn Nielsen, who is, it looks like a gold level amplifier. Thank you so much, Glenn Nielsen, for helping promote the show. And if you would like to do like Glenn, you can go to amps.freetalklive.com. In the last segment, we were talking about fat acceptance becoming compulsory in Colorado, the skinniest state. So weird. Do we have more from that article?
Yeah, there's more.
Yep.
The Rocky Mountain State is the skinniest in the country, boasting the lowest obesity rate at 25%, according to data from Trust for America's Health. In contrast, West Virginia, the unhealthiest state, has a 71% obesity rate, which is crazy. 71%.
Alabama?
West Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia.
That's a lot.
That is crazy.
The most obese U.S. states lack laws against weight discrimination. However, 5 of the healthiest states are proposing anti-weight discrimination laws. Crystal Hartman, an activist with the Obesity Action Coalition, expresses that the initiatives will foster greater acceptance for overweight Americans.
Wait, did you say that it was 70% are obese? Because here...
71% obesity rate in West Virginia.
That's so weird that this is that off. Okay, I'll just... I assume that's right. I was going to get a whole article about if we wanted to see where New Hampshire was and everything, but this one is so off. I just can't believe that it would be that off. It's
What are the years though?
40%. Yeah, I didn't find that. Oh, it says
because I'm sure it's drastically increased. Oh, really?
Yeah, but this says 40%, so that's way off. So I just don't trust this one all of a sudden. But at least according to this one, it says it's ranked number 38. It goes in order of most obese to least obese, and it says that New Hampshire is 30%.
I also think
obese.
The actual qualification for obese, the BMI standards, isn't. It's not always super accurate. So I'm wondering where they're getting this data from, and what their definition of obese is. Because I remember when my father was getting life insurance or something, or health insurance. He isn't super tall, but he's very muscular. He works out, has probably, if we're talking about percentage body fat, probably has a rather low to average percent of body fat.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying based on his BMI, because literally all BMI is weight. Your weight and your height. It doesn't take anything else into the factor. He was obese in his whatever it was going to go up. So he had to lose 10 pounds for the exam, just so his rates wouldn't go up. And if you looked at him, you'd be like, this guy is not obese. He looks so healthy. He's just muscular, but muscle weighs more than fat.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like this article must just be off, because this is Trust for America's Health, and it says it's the 2023 numbers, and it says that West Virginia is at 41%, Louisiana 40.1%. So I feel like that article is just typoed or something.
Maybe.
So weird.
Or maybe they're using different metrics.
Yeah, that's just crazy to think of 70% of people in a whole state being obese.
That is a lot.
That's crazy. All right, I'm just being autistic about that because I wanted to get, down to the bottom of that. But you can go on.
Crystal Hartman, the activist, says, just to humanize this disease and to take away the blame and the shame that is incredibly important.
What's the disease?
Take away the blame and the shame.
Being fat, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
they want to take away the blame and the shame.
That's not a disease, but okay, continue.
It's incredibly important, just like it is all the other types of discrimination that these laws are looking to abolish. This is a huge step forward for us, and we really hope that this is the start of a grassroots effort across the U.S. So weight stigma, weight bias, and weight discrimination is a thing of the past instead of part of our present and our future, she said. Colorado aims to pass the Fatphobia legislation sometime in 2024.
You know what, makes me the most annoyed about this is, the USDA food pyramid.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's a disease. No, you're literally, if you look at the food pyramid, like the biggest portion of it is like processed carbohydrates, which we all know should not be the bulk of your diet. Like the bulk of your diet should be things like meats and vegetables. But instead, they're telling people to eat a very, highly processed diet, and then you send your kids to public school, and then they're eating highly processed food, and then, people don't know how to cook food. So then they're feeding their kids all of these processed foods that are super high in sugars and carbs and subsidized. Yeah. And so it's like if you're on food stamps or if you have WIC, like these are the things that you are allowed to buy with.
Lori was pointing out before the show when we were talking about this article about is a potato a vegetable, that at school they considered, at least for a while, I don't know if they still do, pizza a vegetable at public schools.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because the
Michelle
tomato
Obama.
sauce.
Yeah. Oh, that was what it was?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was the tomato sauce.
That's so
because
crazy.
nothing else on that is a vegetable.
Right.
That's crazy.
Well, we have a caller. We have Chuck from Washington. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I've really thought a lot about this whole American obesity thing ever since I was over in the Army in Europe for like 5.5 years, and I was in Norway for a while, and Oslo, and I was amazed to see how many people were not obese. There was zero there.
Yep.
But there was a, another observation I made about that place was the price for alcohol. The price was marked up for food that was bad for you. So there was economic incentive for people to buy healthy food there, and that's just the opposite over here in the United States. And then the sick thing is, they do this kind of controlled capitalistic type of approach on people's access to healthy food, and then they have doctors that make money off of it. And then you know what? They have doctors and lawyers working together to represent people who get in accidents because of their unhealthy physical condition. You see the path that I'm going down here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they profit off of people being fat.
Yeah, and
it's sick.
And then the politicians are shareholders in these pharmaceutical companies who make you the drugs that you need to take after you get too fat that your heart gives out. And
so it really is just the way our system is, the perverse system that we live in right now that I think helps enable this psychological condition people have to let themselves deteriorate. I mean, I at this point in time, I have had physical injuries, and it looks like my stomach, I'm hiding a basketball in there somewhere. But I'll tell you, I'm not going to become a liability to myself in my recovery for my injuries and, all that. And I think that's a lot of where this comes from, too. People get in a hole and they just can't get out of it, whether that be the circumstances they had made conscious choices to make, or a car accident, or what have you. I think that should be considered too with this situation too.
Well, and for some people, it's actually like difficult for them to be healthy and for them to not be obese because they just have absolutely no clue how to eat healthy. Like I think of that.
Exactly.
Like when I think of like Weight Watchers and stuff like that, or like Nutrisystem, like those things where it's like, and it's like when you look at it, you're like, okay, all of this food is crap. Like this is all like processed garbage. Like none of this food is healthy.
Seed oil.
It's all like high in calories.
Yeah, and it doesn't teach you how to eat well.
No, it doesn't. And it's like, it's sad to think about. Like some people like genuinely don't know. Like, cause for me, it's so easy because I'm like, vegetables, meat, like things that aren't processed. Like I keep a relatively very clean diet, and to me it's just so simple. But there are so many people that I know personally who cannot even fathom it because they've been brainwashed essentially, and especially if you're going by like government standards of health, like I mentioned earlier, where the bulk of your calories is supposed to come from processed carbohydrates. Like they're telling people that wheat bread is healthy, even though it has a very high glycemic index and all of these things. And it's like, yeah, how are you supposed to lose weight? What was that?
That's what's available. I said that's what's available at the food bank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's that too.
When you see when you see people go in there that are morbidly obese to get their ration, just think about, are they really doing themselves any good with what we're doing here as far as giving people or making, because now the way it works right now is the people that are in that condition, they might as well have smoked 30 cigarettes for the last 50 years of their life, and they're 60 years old dying of cancer. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're paying for. So I guess. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much for the call. I'm going to look at what Washington ranks here, because I figured it out while we were on the phone with Chuck. I figured out where they got that 74 number.
71.
Or, well, maybe that is... Oh, okay, yeah, they just... Wait, no, like, it says 74 here. Ugh, but still, I still think this is...
it's closer.
Yeah, more likely where they... Or likely where they got this number from. Or it has something to do with it, because it says that it's 74.4% of adults in West Virginia have obesity or are overweight. This is 2022, so
okay,
that's
maybe,
probably went up 3%.
Maybe they're counting just anyone over the normal BMI.
Yeah.
Because I think obese for the BMI is
Maybe
technically like
29,
30.
I think. 29.9 or something like that.
Overweight is 25 to 30.
Oh, it says plus or minus 1.3%. So that has
Okay.
something to do with it, right?
It's gotta.
So yeah, there's lots of states that have at least like almost 70%. Like, it seems like there's not a state here. Yeah, there is not a state here that's in the 50s. Like, even New Hampshire, which we were saying, like, you don't walk around and see that. You don't walk around and see a crazy amount of fat people. Okay, like, you definitely do. But you definitely do see fat people here. So I don't know. I just feel like I saw more in Texas. It doesn't seem like one of the more unhealthy states. It, in that category, has 66.9% plus or minus 1.8% of people who are obese or overweight.
It's kind of disingenuous for them to count the overweight people, because nobody's discriminating against somebody who has 20 pounds to lose.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. And I think the majority of people are probably overweight.
Unless you're in West Virginia.
I guess so.
Majority of people are probably overweight, you say?
Yeah.
Probably in America. Like, he pointed out, Chuck did, our last caller, that when he was in Norway, he said you just don't see fat people there. Yeah. Ian said the same thing about being in Japan. He said he would sit there and count the fat people, and I'm pretty sure he said like none of them were like actual Japanese people. They're like tourists.
It's like that in a lot of places because of their diets. Like, they eat whole food diets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how people could think that the food pyramid is correct anyway. We're just animals, human beings, and thousands of years ago, we didn't eat bread and pasta and McDonald's or any of that stuff. We ate vegetables and nuts and seeds and plants and the occasional meat.
But if you tell people like, you have a gluten intolerance, right? So it would be better off for you if you stopped eating bread. They will literally, like, most people in America, I'm sure, would freak out and be like, I there's nothing I can eat then. And it's like, really? Because there are like thousands of food. But still, it's like there's like thousands of foods that you can still eat, right? But people are like, so I'm gonna starve?
I think
I'm just gonna starve to death? Like, no, you still have like an array of food to choose from. It's just, these are the ones that probably aren't great for you.
I believe what Jay Noon was saying he thinks could be the case. He thinks that, like, he's really always talking about how bad Roundup is. And he's like, I think that's why people think they have gluten intolerance.
Yeah, it's the glyphosate.
Because they have, Roundup all over their stuff here. But in, like, other countries, they eat bread all the time. Like France. If you just go to France, you're eating bread and butter with every single meal in your croissants. Because you're not getting sick because it's not sunflower seed oil bread.
Not even just that. Like, the seed oils aside, there are literally, like, they are poisoning our food. With the pesticides, with the glyphosate, with the Roundup. And those things are literally banned in Europe because they are poisonous and are toxic to human beings. So not only that, there's also like the Red 40. That's banned in most European countries. All of these, or they use real sugar. They don't use corn syrup. But corn is heavily, heavily subsidized in the United States. So most of our sugar that we're consuming in processed foods is corn syrup.
And they're not eating Wonder Bread. You know, they're
exactly. They're eating like sourdough and like
real bread. Like
real bread, yeah.
Actual bread is just water, flour, yeast.
Yeah, it's not like, look
That's
at the ingredients. Look at the ingredient. You can't even buy a loaf of bread in the grocery store that has like 4 ingredients in it, like
It's
you
so
would
easy
if
to
you
make.
made it at home.
Everybody should
That's
stop
the
buying
thing.
bread.
That's the thing. It's so easy to make.
Or
But if you
don't
look
have
at
time,
it,
there is this, at most grocery stores, the ones in the freezer section are usually good for you. They're made from just like sprouted wheat, and so they're just as good as any other. Like one time, somebody at Fucking Great, the restaurant that we eat at or used to eat at until it closed in Keene, is a pho noodle restaurant. Get it? Was asking if there was any bread that's like even not bad for you at all, and I was like, oh, there's like the Ezekiel bread. It's sprouted wheat, and then he was like, well, there's no way that's like good though, and just like you know, wouldn't listen to
it's like, all right, well then just never eat bread ever again if you're just going to completely disregard
they're not going to do that. They're just going to
anything.
be like, oh, well, I'll just eat the bad for you stuff because like I'm sure
well,
I
and
can't
that's
do
the thing
anything
too.
else.
It's just like people love excuses,
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Or they'll be like, oh well, the Ezekiel bread's too expensive.
Yeah,
and it's like,
it's
okay, well, I just
Eat less
paid
of it.
5 cents. I just paid 5 cents to make this loaf of bread.
Right. Yeah, it's super
that's a good
cheap
point.
and
You know what I
super
mean?
easy.
Yeah.
It takes like 10 minutes. Most of that time is just waiting for it to rise.
Yeah,
And then
you're
just-
literally just doing nothing.
And then you just put it in a pan.
Yeah.
And then you cook it.
And Lori is just like an incredible bread baker. She made this cinnamon raisin bread one time. Oh my god, that was so amazing. Was that like made from
Thanks.
scratch?
Yeah.
That was so amazing.
Yeah.
It was like if you made a cinnamon roll into bread, and it was so good. But is there any more from that story?
That story, that's it.
Yep. The government wants to come after you if you can be... See, here's another thing. It's a thought crime. I was going to say if you can be proven to be not racist,
Fatphobic.
fatphobic. There we go. That's
Yeah.
the word that they were using.
'Cause-
That is now
Which is
a
a
word.
misnomer anyway. I'm not scared of fat people.
Right. Oh my god. Is anyone scared of fat people? It's
Maybe.
ridiculous.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I guess that's a good point. Somebody might be scared of fat people. It's
I
probably
could
like
see
in
like
a-
children being scared of fat people.
Yeah,
You know what
really, really fat people, like the 600
I mean,
pound
it is
life
kind of
people.
like scary.
Yeah. Or just like you get like a crazy anxiety when you see them because I could understand that.
When I was a
little
kid,
bit.
my best friend's mom was like 600 pounds.
Mhm.
And whenever I would go over her house, I was always really freaked out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I wasn't scared of her. I was just really
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah.
Like, one time we went with her. She was like a home health aide. I don't know how.
Yeah,
And-
that's a yeah.
Yeah. She
Okay.
just kind of
She's like a live-in nurse kind of.
She just kind of sat there and like babysat the house at night to
Yeah.
make sure nothing happened. But we were just sitting there and a blood vessel exploded on her foot and like blood shot out of the top of her foot.
Oh
just
my
from-
God.
Just from the pressure of her skin.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was so scary. I was like, what is happening?
Oh my god,
That's
that
awful.
is
I
seriously
didn't
scary.
even know that could happen.
I just
I didn't
became
even know
fat
that.
phobic.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah.
We have a caller on hold, unscreened caller. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind and what's your name?
My name is Robert on Daytona Beach. I have on my mind what your topic is today concerning food and obesity.
I'm going to have to ask you to turn off the radio in the background really fast before you continue.
Hear me just shut that off.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So you want to talk about obesity. What did you want to say about that?
Yes. I think the cause for obesity is that people are hungry, but really I want to make a public service announcement about a discovery I made recently.
Okay.
And I've been experimenting with it. It's putting food by without refrigeration. The old way, the Europeans, people from Europe, and probably all over the world have done and are doing.
How are you doing it?
This knowledge is not being passed on to Americans so much. You do is you ferment cabbage. It's the best example is for sauerkraut.
I love sauerkraut
You can
too.
you put the cabbage, you cut it up and you process it in a way to make sauerkraut fresh, so that it's a living food and it's not cooked.
And that's so good for you too, for like your microbiome.
Right.
like your overall
Yeah,
health. It is very healthy to have fermented foods in your diet.
What else though? Like, is that the only food that you've been experimenting with preserving? Is there other types of things that you're preserving?
Well, I look on computer. I don't know if you want me to tell you the reference, but this one person I follow shows a variety of ferments, and the particular sauerkraut recipe I've been thrilled with is one that has cabbage, carrots, and some other thing. And
it's okay.
It's a vegetable.
It's okay.
Anyway, and would it be? I guess I'm not really prepared to tell you exactly what's in it, but I've been experimenting, and I just made a batch with hot pepper, cabbage, and if you like hot pepper, then that's something else.
Yeah.
But you can put different kinds of vegetables in there, and you just leave them on the counter. I've had it on the counter for over 3 days now, and it's just delicious. It's just, you got to follow the process, and the only danger is you got to follow the process strictly, and not contaminate it. It's a process that Americans I was never aware of this. None of people I've grown up with ever seem to be aware of this.
Yeah.
I've seen people process food, but they don't do it by just fermentation.
Yeah, I definitely
so
wasn't,
good.
like told by my grandma how to do it or anything, and I should probably learn before like the grid goes down or something like that. But there are actually a lot of people in New Hampshire that do classes, and they're like, this is like a canning class, a fermentation class. I see it all the time. So I could totally learn that at some point, but
and most of it's really not hard, but I agree
that's
with
what
you.
I've
Like
heard.
this wasn't passed down to me from like my mom. My mom did not know how to cook really. You know what I mean?
Mine
Like
either.
my mom wasn't teaching me about sourdough and how to make kombucha. Like those were things like either like Matt had looked into it and he taught me, or I was just interested in it. So I Googled it, or I watched YouTube videos, or I read a book on it, or I listened to a podcast. Like there's just so many ways to learn. And I think, especially like the sourdough, like people think sourdough and kombucha and stuff like that, it's going to be so difficult. And then you learn how to do it and you're like, wow, this is so easy. I just need to like remember to feed the starter or whatever.
You can make it out of the air.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can just make it, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
You can make sourdough out of the air.
Yeah, you can catch the yeast.
You can get a wild yeast from the air and just make sourdough.
That is crazy and really
And
cool.
there was, speaking of classes in New
Wild.
Hampshire, there was a class on how to do that.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I hear about that very often up here in New Hampshire. So there are definitely people trying to spread that around, and it seems like an important thing to know. I mean, I love sauerkraut. I'm just lazy, I guess. So I've been buying it from the co-op, and they have this really good brand that's like all living and fermented and stuff, and really freaking tasty. And kind of like, it sounds like what he's describing. Like there's some with jalapeno in it that's really good. There's a more bright ginger and carrot one that's really good. I don't know. I like that stuff. There's also like secret ways, not secret, but old-timey ways to actually refrigerate things with like holes in the ground, like different
like
techniques they
root
used to
cellars.
use. Yeah,
Salt preserve things.
right. People should probably use or learn that stuff before, they're without electricity. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
If you're looking for work, there's a piece of paper more important than your resume. It's the cover letter attached if you're snail mailing, or the email to which you attach your resume. Make it 4 short paragraphs. Paragraph 1, say that you're applying for work. The person you're sending to gets a ton of mail about all sorts of things. If you have a password, that's your first sentence. Tom Nelson tells me you and I should meet. Paragraph 2, what you do and how that relates to the opening. Be as specific as possible. Paragraph 3, why you want this particular job. I'm originally from Boston, so I know the market well. I have family and friends in the area, so this would be a homecoming for me. Paragraph 4, unless the job posting stipulates no calls, and I will call you to follow up. Thank you in advance for your time. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. House of Representatives has voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
All 221 House Republicans voted to move forward with the impeachment inquiry, while all 212 Democrats were in opposition. The inquiry against President Biden will give them more power to gather evidence ahead of a possible impeachment attempt early next year. Republicans have long alleged corruption in the Biden administration, much of it centered around the president's son Hunter Biden's business dealings, although they have yet to present any conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. In a statement, Biden said Republicans were wasting time on what he called a baseless political stunt. The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal that could undo hundreds of charges stemming from the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, including against former President Donald Trump. The justices will review a charge of obstruction of an official proceeding that has been brought against more than 300 people. FSN's Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The decision to weigh in on the obstruction charge by the US's highest court could delay the start of Mr. Trump's trial, which is scheduled to take place in Washington in March. The Supreme Court's ultimate ruling, which may not arrive until June, could severely limit efforts by the special counsel Jack Smith to hold the former president accountable for the violence of his supporters at the Capitol. It could also invalidate convictions that have already been secured against hundreds of them. Separately, the Supreme Court's considering whether to rule quickly on Mr. Trump's claim that he can't be prosecuted for actions taken within his role as president. Kate Fisher, Washington.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has left interest rates unchanged, but signaled it plans to make 3 rate cuts next year. It follows an intense 21 months of rate hikes to try and get inflation under control. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
For the third meeting running, the Federal Reserve chose not to raise interest rates, keeping them unchanged at 5.25 to 5.5%, the highest level the Fed has reached in 22 years. More significantly, the Fed says rate cuts are coming, with a potential 3 cuts penciled in for next year. The Fed has increased interest rates 11 times since last March as its battle to cool the economy and bring inflation back to its 2% target. It seems for now the hikes are over and cuts are the way forward for 2024. The Dow Jones jumped around 200 points on the news. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today reviewing COP28 as it clatters to a close in Dubai. The climate change conference went into overtime after the first draft declaration, drawn up by the hosts in the United Arab Emirates, infuriated environmentalists by omitting any reference to the phasing out of the use of fossil fuels. Former US Vice President Al Gore called this year's COP the biggest failure in world history. Professor Sir David King, chairman of the Independent Climate Crisis Advisory Group, agrees.
I've just come back from the COP meeting myself, and what was terribly disappointing, and I mean, I just can't express my frustration, is the lack of understanding from the leadership, and I mean United States, even China, and China's doing pretty well, but the United States and China, to get across the understanding that we have a crisis. And this is a crisis that impacts every single person on this planet. It also impacts all living things. So what we have is a response which is almost two fingers to the crisis.
Among those put in a difficult position by the COP's draft declaration, US climate czar John Kerry. Just 2 weeks ago, he defended the decision for the conference to be chaired by the man who also heads the UAE's national oil company. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. The House of Representatives votes to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. The U.S. Supreme Court agrees to hear an appeal that could undo hundreds of charges stemming from the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, including against Donald Trump. And the U.S. Federal Reserve leaves interest rates unchanged but signals it plans to make 3 rate cuts next year. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Researchers at the University of Washington report that they have successfully trained 7-year-old chimpanzee Makoko to do all of the tasks necessary to conduct a 3-year study on primates. According to the scientists, Makoko has efficiently learned to turn in thorough analyses of behavior in chimpanzees, fill out all of the necessary paperwork to ensure compliance with the Animal Welfare Act, and even apply for supplemental grant funding from the National Institutes of Health. Sources within your office reported today that the guy on the 3rd floor with 2 computer screens on his desk is not f***ing around. Co-workers said that the man, currently working with at least 3 programs open on each screen, was absolutely tearing it up, with sources adding that watching the man run a group video chat while dragging 2 separate Google documents to his 2nd screen was like something out of f***ing Minority Report or something.
Jesus, he's just dragging things from one screen to the other like it's nothing. He's going balls to the wall over there. Christ, man, I don't think he's blinked in 3 minutes.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, it's me, Bonnie,
Lori, and Nikki.
And so a couple segments ago, I was teasing to you guys, the listeners, that the government is on the case of a very, very important issue. Don't worry, they're going to figure it out for us. All you have to do is let them figure it out. We need to know, is a potato a vegetable or not? And that's what people out in D.C. are figuring out for us, which is just absolutely ridiculous. It says, botanists count potatoes as a vegetable. But should Americans? What? They're acting like botanists aren't, like there's no American botanists?
Yeah, so there's that, and it's like, okay, if this is like a vegetable, if it's technically a vegetable, then why would we classify it as anything else?
Oh, why? Yeah, why would you? I don't know. I could see people being, if the botanists were just wrong, yeah, you should disagree with them if they're wrong, but it doesn't seem, in my opinion, if all other roots are considered vegetables, then yeah, it's a root, it's a vegetable, like a carrot, right?
America is based on no reals, only feels.
Yeah.
For everything.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that was like a really strange, like 2 first sentences for this article. It's from the Wall Street Journal. It's not like
these are the same people that are classifying pizza as a vegetable.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Right.
Probably. Says the U.S. Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee has sparked the question, setting the table for a round of spud sparring among scientists, potato growers, potato lovers, me, and parents. Kids especially want credit for veggie eating or eating veggies in the form of fries, which, okay, it's not that it magically becomes not a vegetable. It's just that you're smothering it in heated up, corn oil or sunflower oil or soybean oil. And that's why it becomes bad for you. It's still a vegetable.
Right. If you take a baked potato and pour oil all over it, it's still bad for you.
Yeah. So that's ridiculous.
I mean, but yeah, you could say the same thing about like broccoli.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything.
You know what I mean?
Just use butter instead.
And that's why like most people are like, I'm eating a salad, I'm healthy. And it's like, you just drenched it in like croutons and salad dressing. Like
6 pounds of cheese.
It could have been healthy,
Croutons
but you just
suck,
ruined
too.
it. Yeah. Croutons are overrated.
I've always hated croutons, and like other kids really like croutons, and I never understood that. But we do have a caller on the line. Unscreened caller, what's on your mind?
Hello, my name's Mark from Western Pennsylvania. I was enjoying the conversation, and I had an idea. What if a politician, is a good person, and they get in there and the lobbyists offer them money, and they allow the food industry to put chemicals in there to make us addicted to this food, and like in West Virginia, they take away the coal industry and people turn to drugs and they're depressed and alcohol, and what if this is just corruption and big pharma doesn't want us to get better, because then they wouldn't be able to sell us a lot of drugs, and American medical, they just treat the symptoms, so they go along with big pharma. What if corruption is deeper than I realize?
It absolutely is.
It's a great thing to wonder.
It's deeper than any of us could even fathom, I think.
Because we're not like, terrible, evil people. I think it's a great thing to wonder that to yourself and then look for information that could tell you maybe if it's true or not.
Thanks for taking my call. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mark.
I think he's on to something.
Absolutely. I think that, like, if you look into, for example, like, who has stocks in pharmaceutical companies? Probably people who also, are doctors and work at hospitals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The same people who have stocks in oil companies.
Yeah. And I think, he gave the example of like, what if someone started off good, became a politician, and then like got corrupt based on like bribes? But I think some of these politicians are also like not only bribes, but I think they're also like probably being like threatened and coerced in other ways. You know what I mean? Especially if it's like really big things like oil and pharmaceutical companies and these things that
they'll
like
kill people.
Yeah, like they'll like threaten your family and all sorts of stuff. And I'm sure if you're gonna go against the grain in a big way, then I'm sure there are ways.
I think at that point it's like you're still a bad person if you don't get out of it. Like if they threaten you,
absolutely,
say, okay, I'll quit. If they don't let you, like that seems unlikely. Why wouldn't they not? Why would they not let somebody who isn't going to play their game, doesn't want to play their game, just quit? Like I feel like
that's
you could
probably
just get
what
out.
they want, right? They're like, no, get you, like you,
Right.
you know what I mean? They want someone easy
Like
to control.
never speak about it. That's fine. It's not immoral to never speak about it. I'm just out of here and I'm not going to do what you want.
Yeah.
Like I just don't see it. It doesn't make sense that it would be like, oh, really good people become politicians and then like, everything's out of their control. They can't help that they're just like making everyone's lives worse and worse and worse. With it's what seems like very intentional things. No, it's probably just that they are bad to begin with if they would accept those bribes. Like I'm sorry, but like,
and I think a lot of people lie to themselves. Probably either they're just like genuinely like just evil, or there's a lot of like self-deception going on.
And the other thing is, a lot of these people are already in like families that are extremely bad people, like the Bushes.
Yeah.
And all of the presidents that they're related to, and all of the.
Yeah, it's like hereditary almost. It's like in their DNA.
Not just that could totally be the case too. But I also just think like they're just continuing the plan,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Probably.
One of Bush and, so his mother's side, Laura Bush's ancestors was I forgot what it was. I forgot exactly who he was all of a sudden. I learned this yesterday and I was like, that's crazy. But he was a person in like the 1800s that went after, or maybe like the 1600s that went after Muslims. And he said some quote, and then years and years later in 2001, George Bush said that quote about eradicating Muslims. So, like, that's not an accident. There's no possible way.
That's weird.
So he wanted to eradicate Muslims, and he like this ancestor of George Bush.
Dude.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's
weird.
Freaky. Like,
I
can't believe that's not
because it's like
part of the plan.
Did he know that person said that, or is it some weird like otherworldly? Like, I don't know. Like,
is it synchromysticism or is it on purpose? That's always the question, right?
But either way, it's like that's creepy.
Right.
That's weird.
And it's also just weird to think like back in just 2001, people were saying like we're going to eradicate the Muslim problem, and they were the president of the United States, and no one cared. You know?
Yeah.
So weird. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but it was something close to that.
Not even that they didn't care; they were on board.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were totally for it. Yeah.
It's crazy. But we were talking about something much lighter than that. We were talking about the government deciding whether or not potatoes are vegetables, and they're just hard at work on this, subject. I mean, it's not like they want to consider it a fruit, so it seems like it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Like a starch? Yeah. Like, what do they want to consider it if it's not a vegetable?
Starch, I assume, yeah.
Ian told me about this, and I think he said it was grain. Like
a grain?
It was
a grain,
like,
but it's not.
I don't know. I know corn is a grain, and it's nothing like corn. So.
And also, like, corn isn't a grain, though. I totally reject that corn is a grain.
Oh. I don't know.
They probably, to me, I would classify that as a vegetable.
Corn?
Corn, I think so, yeah.
I kind of see
I wouldn't say, like, oh, it's, like, a really healthy vegetable, but
I'm sure vegetable oil made from corn?
There's corn oil.
There probably is, but I think vegetable oil is really usually canola oil, which is made from rapeseed. Yeah.
If you go to like the grocery store and you get the one that is labeled vegetable oil, it's usually soybean. Rapeseed?
Rapeseed, yeah.
That's a vegetable?
Is it a vegetable? I don't know.
I don't know what rapeseed is.
Isn't it a grass?
Has yellow flowers.
Yeah, it's like not really food.
It's a grain.
So I don't know. I guess it maybe is a grain.
But the thing I'm saying is like we're not making such a huge difference of like, oh, it's not a potato, it's a mineral. No, it's just like it's either vegetable or grain. Like that's such a little
maybe it's an animal
classification. Oh, that would be kind of cute if they could like, move. Maybe a cute pet. Well, they are saying here, they say, white potatoes, which come in various colors, are classified as starchy vegetables. But the committee could uproot potatoes from the vegetable bin and toss them in with a broader category of rice, other grains, and carbohydrates as the Departments of Agriculture and Health and Human Services weigh updates to national diet guidelines for 2025. You know what I think is so weird about this? It's just like these people really put a lot of stock in what they say. Nothing physically will change about potatoes if you categorize it differently.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like,
and it's like I don't really care.
Yeah, who cares what they say? Some people.
I'm still gonna eat potatoes.
I love potatoes,
and
I think they're really
growing
good for
them.
You. One thing about potatoes that is like kind of a Ray Peat. He was a doctor. It's kind of like a Ray Peat, part of his philosophy that they say is that it raises your body temperature to eat potatoes, so it's good for you. I don't know.
Okay.
Like
it's
why?
I've never heard that.
Fibrous.
I don't know why it is. My first guess was just that it makes you so full, like you feel full for a long time after you eat a potato, as opposed to something else. Like
maybe it takes
corn.
a lot of metabolic activity to break it down.
Maybe, but for some reason, in Ray Peat's world, it's good to be warm. Like people even wear caps like to bed and stuff, which I don't think I could get behind. I don't want to be that warm. But
how would you get it to stay on?
In your sleep?
Yeah.
I think that I probably could. I sleep with my hair in braids, and they don't come apart.
Yeah, but that's like just a thing on your head. I hate it to come off.
Well, some people sleep with bonnets. It's if it has like the elastic
it'd have to
enough,
be like tied on or something, or like elastic.
Then it probably could. I don't know. I would hate to be that warm in my sleep.
I'm just like picturing Bonnie sleeping with like a cowboy hat on.
What? I don't sleep with the hat. I sleep with braids. I said.
I know, but the point, the suggestion was to sleep with a hat.
Well, it's like in old timey pictures of somebody who's supposed to be in pajamas, they'd have like a nightcap.
Yeah, the nightcap. Yeah.
Like, what was the point of that? But
I think because they didn't have heat.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
maybe that was it. They just didn't have heat in their house.
That makes a lot of
It's
sense,
40
actually.
degrees in here.
Right, yeah.
So like one thing I noticed that me and Ian are always talking about is if you ever see a really old video of like there's like this one that it was like fixed up by AI, but it wasn't just an AI video, it was a real video that AI kind of fixed up, made it look better quality. Since it was in the 1800s, but it was a video of people walking around in San Francisco, and Ian and I were just like, why is every single person wearing a hat? Like, that's so weird. Why, how did we go in 100 plus year, 115 years, I don't know, 123 years from like everybody you see is wearing a hat to like no one wears hats. That's weird. If you just say, oh, it was just the style back then, like that seems unbelievable. Even though things are in style today, like it's not like 100% of people.
Right.
I think that there was something different. Like the sun was giving off different rays or something.
Maybe it was like a modesty thing.
That could be the case. I guess there are, lots of people have issues with hair.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
People who wear hijabs and stuff. I don't know. That's a good, I hadn't thought of that theory, but it was weird. Like, I don't know. I think that there's stuff that we don't know about the past that they don't tell us. So.
I also think that
maybe
like because people dressed nicer, right?
Right.
Like it was thing. If you were leaving your house, like you were to be dressed more formally than we are today. Like you would not be going out in Cookie Monster pajama pants in the 1800s. Obviously, like that didn't exist, but you know what I mean. Like you wouldn't be dressing like people dress to go to Walmart. You wouldn't even be dressed like we are right now. Like we're not dressed inappropriately, but like 100 years ago, like if you were leaving your house at all, period, you were to be dressed very formally with several layers, and usually that would consider maybe gloves and maybe a hat. And it could be a modesty thing, or
even like people who didn't have like high paying jobs, like just like the paper boy, he was wearing like something kind of fancy.
Yeah, kind of like a suit almost.
Today.
Yeah.
Even when they were in their houses, I watched this YouTube video. This woman, she does like 1800s period dress, and she showed the day of an average housewife back then, and she would change her clothes like 6 times with all the different layers and like all these buttons and so many things on and off all day long. Different outfits for different parts of your day, like going to the store would be a different outfit than everything. You had to be dressed like when your husband was up in the morning, you had to like be all dressed up.
Oh yeah, you better. Yeah,
it's weird.
That's just terrible.
Right.
I don't know. I don't like, I'm happy that we moved away from stuff like that, but that's what we were talking about earlier. Sometimes we move away from things that aren't very necessary, but we swing so far in the direction that we're in Cookie Monster pajama pants, like you said.
Yeah.
Imagine if like they saw somebody dressed like that. What would they think?
They
that
wouldn't
person was
understand
wearing,
it. I don't think.
Right.
I don't think they'd understand it.
Yeah.
They'd put them in a mental asylum.
Probably. Yeah. They wouldn't. They would think they were like an alien. Probably.
Yeah. Witch.
Oh my God, Ian still believes that like sweatpants are basically pajamas. Like I'll sometimes be like wearing sweatpants that are not Cookie Monster themed or something like that to Walmart or whatever, and he'll be like, oh, you can wear pajamas if you want.
Yeah.
he's like he's like totally judging you.
I don't agree.
Unless you're like running track or like in your house lounging, no sweatpants.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
not like super offended by it. I probably wouldn't. I have more. I call them formal sweatpants.
Right. I have
they're
my
like
nicer
tight.
sweatpants.
Yeah, like there's
and my worst ones.
Yeah, like there's like a there's like a tier system.
Yeah, I definitely.
You know what I mean?
I guess if they're like kind of tailored-y with like, not schlubby and weird.
Yeah, if you style it, you just have to style them correctly.
If it looks styled, okay.
I got some Aritzia sweatpants recently just because like I think that people look so nice with them. They nearly look like they're made to look kind of like cargo pants, but they're feel like sweatpants. So I got those recently and I love them so much. They feel so nice. But still, I went to go visit Ian wearing them. He was like, you didn't have these pants before. I was like, yeah, I got them. And I showed them to him and he was just like, I don't know. I could tell he thinks they're pajamas.
Yeah. He
ridiculous.
knows. It's like you can't really tell they're sweatpants, but he still knows.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of can. I'm just saying like they're nicer. Like I have sweatpants that I absolutely actually wouldn't leave the house in. And then I have some that I would. Like I went to go, unfortunately, pay taxes today, but they were closed. But I wore these sweatpants. You can't see them on. You guys can't see what I'm wearing, but
what's the difference between like leggings? Like I wear leggings.
Yeah,
you know what I
It's
mean?
the fit.
I guess so. Yeah.
Sweatpants are kind of schlubby looking.
I have like tight sweatpants that are like sweatpants material, but like they might as well be leggings.
That's okay.
So,
my thing about it is, like as I get older, I don't care what anyone else is wearing, so I'm not even like judging what other people wear at all. But I want to leave my house in leggings less, unless they're really good about absolutely zero. I wonder if I can say this on the air, but camel toe.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
There can't be even like a hint of that. Like that's
Yeah.
I'm not gonna leave the house in that. But
yeah, I understand that. But even like going to like the, you know, like back to the Walmart, like Cookie Monster pajama pants thing, like where we just moved recently, right? So like where we went to the local Walmart, which is, you know, it's like not too far away, but it's different than the Walmart in Keene.
is it better
right?
than the Keene one?
It's a super Walmart, so
Nice.
like that's better.
Oh my god.
But I was looking around
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, there were people in pajamas, and I was like, first thing I thought was like white trash.
Yeah.
That was like the first. I was like, and I said something to Matt. I was like, you can tell like the area we moved to is like a little bit more trashy than Keene. And he was like, oh, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I mean, do you remember Walmart? Like people were like in legit
Clothes.
pajamas.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I thought you were saying at Keene.
Like even like beyond sweatpants, like there's like going out in sweatpants that whatever I can forgive.
Yeah.
You're wearing like printed pajama pants.
Like Stewie, oh my god, ew. There was this guy I used to work with that wore these Stewie pajama pants all the time so I worked at the grocery store bagging groceries, so I would see him there in these Stewie pajama pants, and he smelled bad.
That. You can't do that.
But then I started working at the hotel, and a few years later, he got a job there, and he smelled so bad I complained about him multiple times. But yeah, he would. Oh my god, I'm just traumatized by those Stewie pajama pants that he would wear out. Even if we like had a event, like my hotel, we had so many like potlucks and stuff, and like people who weren't on the job would be allowed to come and like partake. And he would like into the hotel we all worked at wear those Stewie pajama pants.
I feel like that shouldn't be like. Isn't that against the dress code?
Well, he wasn't working, so they wouldn't tell him like you can't wear that. But that's what I'm saying. It's it's so inappropriate to like go to your workplace.
I don't know. And it's like when you go to like different areas, like if you go to like a nicer area, like you're gonna like the way people are dressed in the grocery store or in Walmart is going to be different than like if you go to somewhere where people, you know, aren't as cultured, so to speak. Like, yeah, they're going to be dressed.
People will probably be like, oh, this is judgy, what we're saying. But
yeah.
I don't think so, because the way that you present yourself to the world says a lot about how you care about yourself.
And it's the same thing as being
So
fat.
if you don't put any effort into like looking normal, I guess is the word, normal to society, and you just go out in your pajamas and your hair's not brushed and you look a mess, it says that you don't care.
Yeah.
You don't have
yourself.
you don't have any say over how other people are thinking of you,
right?
Other than like just like presenting yourself in a way you want people to see you. So,
and that's the thing. Like, I guess it doesn't really matter what other people think of you, obviously, but
they're gonna think it though.
But there's a certain kind of person. You know what I mean? Like, it does say something about your character, because like the same person that's in Walmart in their pajamas, like, you know, like the CEO of a company who is dressed more formally to do anything. Like they are leaving the house like like clean and, you know, like ready to whatever. Like if they ran into their boss or somebody, or if, you know, there was a job opportunity at Walmart that they bumped into somebody and is networking, like they would feel proud of how they look. Like they will not leave the house unless they are clean and wearing, you know, decent clothing. The people who are like not, I mean, those are two different types of people, and it's always like that, almost definitely.
And the other thing about it, I'm not saying I will not like wear sweatpants to Walmart. I absolutely will. But like people who are just like either really obscene or in pajamas at Walmart, that's
that one too.
A whole
the
different.
Really obscenely dressed people, like with nothing on.
Yeah.
I love the People of Walmart website.
Yeah, that happens a little less up here, maybe because it's cold half of the year.
Yeah,
but I feel like especially even when I lived in San Antonio, I would sometimes be like, ew, what the like.
Yeah, it's like, why are you wearing a fishnet bodysuit?
Yeah. Yeah. But I also lived in the same town as, oh my God, I just forgot her name. There's my 600-pound life person that lived in the same town I lived in for a short while right outside of San Antonio. Her name started with a J. It was like Jalisa or something like that. And I knew I lived in the same town as her, but I never saw her. But my sister worked at Buc-ee's, which is a huge gas station.
Love Buc-ee's.
She saw that girl there. Oh, I can't remember her name. And she was like, I wanted to say hi so bad because she's like a fan. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Free Talk Live.
If I were a parent, and I am not, Mark, you are, I am not, but if I were a parent, then I would be teaching my kids the difference between right and wrong based on whether or not people get hurt, not whether or not some elected official has written some words down on a piece of paper and deemed something to be illegal. There have been so many things over the history of time that have been labeled as illegal.
It's legal. It was legal to shoot engines in this country. Did that make it right? Legal and illegal, right and wrong, these things do not correspond here in America.
They rarely correspond as a matter of fact.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Now, there are some things that are illegal that are absolutely wrong, like murder or arson or destruction of property or
However,
stealing.
It's also illegal to not pay taxes to the federal government. Is that wrong? Absolutely not.
That's
it is
heroic.
Right to keep the money that you earn.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. House of Representatives has voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
All 221 House Republicans voted to move forward with the impeachment inquiry, while all 212 Democrats were in opposition. The inquiry against President Biden will give them more power to gather evidence ahead of a possible impeachment attempt early next year. Republicans have long alleged corruption in the Biden administration, much of it centered around the president's son Hunter Biden's business dealings, although they have yet to present any conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. In a statement, Biden said Republicans were wasting time on what he called a baseless political stunt. The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal that could undo hundreds of charges stemming from the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, including against former President Donald Trump. The justices will review a charge of obstruction of an official proceeding that has been brought against more than 300 people. FSN's Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The decision to weigh in on the obstruction charge by the US's highest court could delay the start of Mr. Trump's trial, which is scheduled to take place in Washington in March. The Supreme Court's ultimate ruling, which may not arrive until June, could severely limit efforts by the special counsel Jack Smith to hold the former president accountable for the violence of his supporters at the Capitol. It could also invalidate convictions that have already been secured against hundreds of them. Separately, the Supreme Court's considering whether to rule quickly on Mr. Trump's claim that he can't be prosecuted for actions taken within his role as president. Kate Fisher, Washington.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has left interest rates unchanged, but signaled it plans to make 3 rate cuts next year. It follows an intense 21 months of rate hikes to try and get inflation under control. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
For the third meeting running, the Federal Reserve chose not to raise interest rates, keeping them unchanged at 5.25 to 5.5%, the highest level the Fed has reached in 22 years. More significantly, the Fed says rate cuts are coming, with a potential 3 cuts penciled in for next year. The Fed has increased interest rates 11 times since last March as its battle to cool the economy and bring inflation back to its 2% target. It seems for now the hikes are over and cuts are the way forward for 2024. The Dow Jones jumped around 200 points on the news. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call in to bring whatever thoughts you have on your mind to the radio, to everybody listening. That's 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori, and Nikki.
And we've been talking about the government is really working hard. They're working on figuring out the most important things in our lives so we don't have to spend our time thinking about this stuff. They're wondering and trying to get to the bottom of this question. Is a potato a vegetable or a grain? It's a heated debate. So
I just feel like it's impossible to be a grain. It's just not. You know what I mean?
I don't really know what that means exactly. Like when I think of a grain, I don't think of potato. So I feel like I am definitely leaning on the side of it's a root and it's a vegetable. Like it's a root vegetable. That's a term, right?
Yeah.
So it's a root vegetable, isn't it?
Yes.
Or potatoes don't have any like...
Oh, wait, they're tubers.
There's like a chemical composition of like what a grain is. You know what I mean? It's just like a seed. You know what I mean? I have the definition of grain. A grain is a small, hard, dried fruit. Okay, I didn't think it was a fruit, but
weird, yeah.
With or without an attached hull layer, harvested for human or animal consumption, whatever. It's not a very good definition.
So it's just like, it kind of looks like a little seed. When you see grain growing, you don't eat that whole stalk, I don't think. Well, I don't know.
think so, but it's like
some things
even
are
when you
made...
think of like wheat. Okay, wheat's a grain. You like know what wheat looks like when it's growing and like it's processed.
But you don't need that whole long string, right?
I don't think so. I think it's just the ends of it.
Yeah, it's just
the ends.
Yeah.
But also like look
wheat
at
berries,
wheat.
I think they're called.
Yeah, the wheat berries.
Oh.
So look at
Yeah.
wheat.
That kind of makes it
and,
sound like a fruit.
You know, like look at even like seeds and stuff, and then look at a potato.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these are just two completely different things.
And
like you can't classify it as a grain. It would just literally be wrong.
And I gotta look up what a potato plant looks like because I know exactly what a sweet potato plant looks like off the top of my head, but I don't really know what a potato plant looks like. So I'm just gonna look that up and see if it looks any more grainy. Nope, it looks sort of like a...
It's like a plant. It's like green, you know?
It looks like a specific flower. Like I can't think of what right now.
I can't think of any other
looks like a
grain
zinnia
that grows under the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like the root of it. You know what I mean? It's just a different thing.
I got a little lost here. Okay, I found it. So they're saying that white potatoes, which come in various colors, are, and this is from the Wall Street Journal, by the way, white potatoes, which come in various colors, are classified as starchy vegetables, but the committee, which is the U.S. Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, the committee could uproot potatoes from the vegetable bin and toss them in with a broader category of rice and other grains and carbohydrates as the Departments of Agriculture and Health and Human Services weighs updates to national diet guidelines for 2025.
I mean, I guess, yeah, it has carbohydrate. Like, it's composed of carbohydrates.
So
I guess
lots of vegetables are
they
like
could
that.
say that. Yeah, like a lot of, like every single fruit is. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just like the chemical composition of food, like proteins, carbohydrates. Like, we're talking about, like, this is like the molecular structure of the food. It's just, I don't know. I just don't. This just sounds like so dumb.
So I looked at the food pyramid because I didn't even know what it looked like because
they changed it. Is this the new one or the old one?
They changed it?
The plate. Now it looks like a plate.
Oh,
because Americans are so dumb that they couldn't read the original food pyramid, so they made it a plate so it's easier for dumb Americans to look at it.
Like a pie chart plate or something, or just like a plate with a
They
picture?
call it my plate, yeah, and it's like, this is how much. So it's a circle, right? It's a plate, and then they're like, this is how much carbs you're supposed to have, and it's half of the plate. This is how much meat you're supposed to have, and it's like a little portion, and this is how much like fruits and vegetables you're supposed to have.
I just hate them so much because
it's still a pyramid. So they want you to eat mostly bread and rice?
Yeah.
Is that why they want to put potatoes into that category so they can subsidize potatoes?
Probably.
Yeah, you're right. Like when government is thinking of stuff like this, like they have to have ulterior motive.
Right, because otherwise, why does it matter?
Yep. I mean, one thing I was thinking was like they're making work, like it's make work, so that way they're like, oh, I'm busy figuring out what a potato is.
No, there's always something.
Yep. And usually it has to do with money.
Yeah.
It says the scientific debate isn't easy to follow. You got to be really smart. But it sounds like a half-baked idea to Cam Quarles, I guess that's a name, chief executive of the National Potato Council.
Is that real?
A potato industry group. It's crazy. So that
I feel like this is like
what do you
satire.
like to do in your free time? Oh, I head up the Potato Council.
The Potato Council. So it seems like the potato industry is against this for some reason. The dietary guidelines shape nutrition advice to Americans, as well as what foods are served in school cafeterias. So it is the same people that
so they were essentially like lobbying because they were like, we want more potatoes in school. Like they're trying to sell potatoes to whatever company serves the children the prison food that they get. So they want more potatoes.
Somebody must be involved in that. It says the dietary guidelines. Okay, I already read that. Sorry. They decide what nutrition advice schools get, as well as what foods are. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that so wrong. Potatoes, according to Quarles, which is the guy from the Potato Council, should be respected as a gateway vegetable. Kids are far more likely to eat dishes with other vegetables if potatoes are involved, he said. That's just
like
how good
gateway
potatoes
vegetable?
are.
Like, why are they?
Why do you have to be tricked into eating vegetables anyway?
I don't.
Because
I'm
your
just,
parents
like,
gave you candy.
So confused. Yeah, it's because this is the thing too. It's like most of the adults in the United States are like so unhealthy and have never eaten real food in their life that they also don't like vegetables. And it's like, this is why your kids don't like vegetables, because you're also not eating vegetables. It's like if you're feeding your kid broccoli, like you're singling your kid out and you're like, oh, you need to eat your peas, and you're not also eating that. Why would your kid think that that's appetizing? You know what I mean? And also, like, if you suck at cooking and you're feeding them like overcooked, bland broccoli with like no seasoning on it, like, of course
That's
it's
so
going to
sad.
taste bad. You know, like that. Yeah, exactly.
I just feel so grateful that my dad like loves to cook. Like, imagine that. Like, you're a kid, you can't control your life, and you're getting served this bland overcooked
It's so
broccoli.
sad. And
That
then
is
you're like
really
being
sad.
punished for not eating it. It's
my
like,
God.
well, this isn't food. Like, this is slop. Like, what do you expect?
Then again, I wouldn't eat any of the meat my dad made, and I had to get yelled at until I would finally eat it.
Even if you don't like vegetables, you can still put them on your kid's plate when they're little
Oh, yeah,
kids.
right, exactly.
And then they'll eat them
That's
because
like-
they're little, and then they'll grow up and continue eating them.
Yeah.
Like, so many people looked at me weird because my kids like sardines. Like they
I used to eat sardines when I was a
request
kid.
Them. They're like, can we have sardines? And I'm like, of course you can. Because
And
I've
they're
been
super
feeding
nutritious,
them.
yeah.
They're really good for you. And because I've been
And
feeding
it
them
wouldn't
to them
freak him
since
out,
they
yeah.
were babies.
See, like, I just couldn't eat a sardine because
Yeah.
it freaks me out. But if I had been eating it since I was a kid, I probably would.
Yeah,
My
you'd be like,
dad,
these are great.
Well, my
Like a
dad
really
ate
little kid.
them. So, and I was like, oh, you know, I saw my dad eating them, and I also was like 5 years old and thought I was a cat. So of course I'm gonna eat sardines because that's what cats eat.
So many kids do that. Like, every
Like
kid
think they're an animal.
pretends to be a cat, specifically a cat,
Yeah.
I feel like, but also like a dog. Like, the other day I was at my friend's
Yeah.
house and her 7-year-old was like, I'm a dog. And she was like, no, you're not. Like, she was getting so tired of it. But yeah, like every little kid does that, and it's weird.
Yeah.
Well, potatoes are obviously one of the best vegetables. I love potatoes so much. And you can make French fries, by the way, that aren't bad for you. That's the other thing I forgot to say earlier when they were like, oh, kids want credit for eating veggies in the form of fries. It would be credit for eating good things if you cut up a potato yourself and then put it in olive oil and some salt. If you're like anti-salt, whatever.
Or like tallow or beef fat. Like tallow and beef fat are incredibly nutritious.
Yep. And
you know what I
oh my
mean?
God,
Like
so
those are
good
healthy
for that.
fats. You know, like there are a lot of like vitamins in those fats. So if you were to even deep fry potato chips or whatever,
Or with like an air fryer, you wouldn't need that much.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
Or
my
an
God.
air fryer, yeah,
That's
you
a
like wouldn't
great
even
idea.
really need any. You know what I mean? So like there
Yeah.
are ways to prepare foods where like you're even enhancing the nutritional value of it.
I totally am going to do that because I've been doing olive oil and making French fries and it's so good. But I think it might be better with beef tallow, but that's just like a lot for the method I'm using. But
oh yeah,
if
yeah,
I got
I
an
deep
air
fry,
fryer,
so
They're on sale.
oh really?
Yep.
I bet they are. It's
I
time
saw
for
'em
Christmas.
yesterday. I was like,
Where
oh.
at? Oh, sorry. Well, we can
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about
talk
this
about it
later. Well, they're talking about the scientific debate between potatoes that people don't really care about science and care more about like what classification of potato gets them more money. People in DC.
Yeah, literally.
It says, this guy, his last name is Quarles, says that vegetables should be respected as a gateway vegetable. Potatoes are a gateway vegetable, and kids are far more likely to eat dishes with other vegetables if potatoes are involved. But not all parents swallow that a trail of tubers leads to leafy greens. Well, I think this is so ridiculous. Like, is anyone actually saying this stuff that they're quoting parents as saying?
I don't think so.
Not like the exact quote, but I mean, like, are parents sitting around like, I don't know if I buy that. You just make your kid eat something. The thing that bothers me, I love my parents and I think they're good people, but they have had a million kids. So now that they have 3 really young kids at home right now, okay, one is like severely autistic, so you probably shouldn't count him. But the other 2, my parents are always saying like, they won't eat anything else, Bonnie. They won't only eat cereal. They will only eat this and that. You just make them, and then if they're starving, they'll eat something good. And especially like when they were really little, you should have started then, but you didn't. And
you gotta offer them a lot of options.
Yeah,
like you make a plate with all different kinds of options on it, and then they'll eat something.
There are healthy alternatives, like say if your kid, because it is common for like kids when they're 2 or 3 to kind of go through like a food strike or whatever. But if it's like, okay, I'm only going to eat this particular food, like I think there are ways to pick a healthy option of that particular thing. I think it's
you can
very
trick kids so easily.
Yeah, like okay, you're only going to eat mac and cheese. Okay, well let's blend up some veggies in the mac and cheese. You know,
exactly.
like
butternut squash mac and cheese.
Yeah, like there are ways to kind of like get creative with it, and I also think like with certain things, it's like I don't know. I see a lot of parents who get like a little like too wrapped up in like the things their kids are eating, like their mannerisms. I don't know. I just think people put a little too much stock in like, oh, my kid's refusing to eat this. It's like if you just kind of like create a culture in your family of like, this is what we're eating and like these are the healthier options, I think eventually like those food strikes end and kids will kind of start to eat like healthier food as the family changes. You know what I mean?
If you just give them options, they'll pick things out of those options that they will eat too. Like if they just don't want to eat a certain thing, don't make them eat it.
Yeah.
My kid doesn't like milk. I don't make her drink milk.
But isn't it like kind of messed up too? It's like as an adult, like I'm allowed to have foods that I don't like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everybody has
like
personal
I'm not
preferences.
forcing my husband to eat raw carrots. He doesn't like them. So I'm not going to serve him raw carrots. You know what I mean? It's like the same with a kid. It's like we should be respecting our children as human beings. And it's like, you don't like that particular food, like,
okay,
it's here for you if you want it, but like here are other options. Like that's just like
the only thing is
a
like,
nice thing.
I think that people should utilize tricking their kids though, because it's like, well, you couldn't have just made me eat meat as a kid. Like I would literally sit at the table for an extra hour or so crying until my dad was, you're not leaving. And like he wasn't really yelling at me, but he'd be like, you're not leaving until you eat this 2 more bites, Bonnie, you know. And it was like probably really freaking frustrating.
Well,
but
that probably made it worse though.
I kind of think that, but also it's just like, what was he supposed to do? Like I wouldn't gain weight, and meat is like really important. Like I didn't want any meat. But the thing is, this is why I think people should just be ready to have kids and not just be like, oh, I want to have 10, so I'm going to start at 18. Like, you should be really ready to have kids and know about stuff like that kids might do. So that way you can, like, when I was a really little kid, he could have told me that meat was animals and I would be used to that. But when I figured that out when I was 5 years old, because I didn't grow up on a farm, it was so disgusting. I was like, wait, when you said vein, you literally meant vein? Like when you're talking about a vein in a chicken and the bones, like this is really an animal? And that was just so mind-blowing to me. I couldn't eat meat. And
I think that's a great point. And I think like, you know, I'm sure like you probably wouldn't want to eat like a pork chop, but I'm sure like if they made like lasagna or like there are different ways to kind of prepare meats.
Yeah.
Where like if you're that concerned about your child's like nutritional health and they're like really underweight, like there are kind of ways to like
that's a perfect example too.
To like something they will eat, like giving them more options.
Right. Like that's a perfect example because I hated pork chops or any kind of meat with like a bone in it, but it could have been given to me. Like if my parents gave me chicken nuggets, I would eat those because I was like, oh heck yeah. Wait, can you say that on there?
I think so.
But you could do other things like beans.
Yeah.
Nut butters.
Yeah.
You know, you can get all of that stuff without eating meat too.
Well,
in this year of our Lord, whatever year it was.
Yeah. One of my friends was telling me, you know, like my daughters are really picky and, you know, they like chicken nuggets. So she's like, it's hard for me to get them to eat everything. They like chicken nuggets. So I buy them organic frozen chicken nuggets. It's super easy for me to prepare. And she's like, this is what they'll eat right now. So this is what I'm cooking. Like, there are way worse things I could be feeding my kids. Yeah, they're chicken nuggets, but if they will eat these every day, they have protein, they have, you know, like, I'm just going to keep buying these from the grocery store and then, you know, offer them different things as well. And like, hopefully, like, eventually, like, they're 2 and 4 years old. Like, that is normal for kids those age to kind of just be like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just, I think, ways around this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them options.
I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people are just lazy. Like, even if your kids would only chicken nuggets and you didn't like the stuff that's in the breading, you could make your own chicken nuggets. But people just think that's impossible. 603-283-6160 is the number. We do have a caller on the line. David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Fermentation.
Nice. What about
I haven't used lots of stuff. Butter is a fermented product.
Really?
Meat, beef is fermented. All breads, not just sourdough, they're all fermented. Cheese is fermented. Buttermilk, sour cream, yogurt.
I think technically most of those things are fermented,
Yeah,
though,
what do you mean
based
by,
on the
like-
definition of the word.
Yeah, what do you mean by like
fermented.
beef is fermented, for example? Like how?
Because, well, the most expensive beef is prime aged beef, right? Why do they age it?
To get all of the like
Juices?
toxins and stuff out of it. You know, like you have to hang it for a certain amount of, I think legally you have to hang a cow for, I don't know how long it is, but you have to hang them for a certain amount of time.
That's for
before you can
toxins?
process.
I doubt that's true, but the reason that
It
you
is
hang
true.
beef and let it
You
okay,
hang
then
meat,
you're right,
yeah.
I'm wrong. The reason, well, quality meat, you do. The reason you age beef is because it becomes more tender. Why does it become more tender? Because the muscle tissue breaks down. Why does the muscle tissue break down? Because of organic processes involving fermentation.
Okay,
I
can believe that.
You've had summer sausage, right?
Summer sausage. I don't know, honestly.
It's like
I don't know what that is.
red tubes of
Yeah.
shelf-stable stuff that you see at the store, like near the
Oh,
pepperoni and stuff.
liverwurst like that?
No.
Like no, I don't think I've had that.
That's not
David?
summer sausage, but it's not summer. Liverwurst isn't summer sausage, but all sausage is sausage, and sausages are fermented for different lengths of time. And unfortunately, in the modern meat processing, they fake a lot of processes. What they do is they put in additives that simulate the fermentation process, so they don't have to actually spend the time fermenting it. But like, for instance, when I lived in Switzerland, I'd go to my girlfriend's parents' house, and you'd go down in the cellar, and there would be sausages hanging there that had been hanging there. It didn't matter if they hung there for a year, because they were stable, because they had fermented enough that there was enough acid in there. And I'm not a chemist, so I can't tell you exactly.
I mean, like, is aged like the same exact thing as fermented? Because one thing about fermenting foods is like I learned that like I will get basically sick if I eat broccoli that's raw, but if I eat fermented, like any vegetable, it's so much better for me. Like, you don't get all gassy and feel terrible.
Yeah, because the fermenting actually has done some of the process that your body was doing.
That's
Yeah,
why,
and so
like cows can eat a bunch of vegetables that we can't eat, or just like grains, like grasses. Humans literally can't get any nutrition out of. Cows can, because they have 7 stomachs. So people basically
Well, they got
recreated
4.
that, or 4. My bad, I thought it was 7. But also monkeys, they eat a bunch of different things that humans can't eat, and that they have a big pot belly because their belly does like a fermentation process.
Yeah. They just have different digestive systems.
And that's why, like, I just can't eat like a raw freaking broccoli.
One of cows' stomachs actually has a microbe inside of it that ferments their food for them.
Nice. That's oh my god, so jealous.
Yeah, cows are essentially living off of alcohol, because they're taking cellulose in the form of grass or whatever else plant material that they eat that you and I can't eat, because we don't have the 4-stage digestion process that they do, and they literally let it ferment in their stomach, and they're basically converting cellulose instead of simple sugars like we can convert. They're converting complex carbohydrate in the form of cellulose, like wood, that we can't convert, and they're essentially turning into a sugar, which is a quasi-alcohol. And once again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a chemist, so somebody who is can explain that more clearly. But I haven't used a refrigerator in 15 years. Matter of fact, I just posted a meme or reposted a meme that was kind of cute from one of the cowboy families that live out to the west of me, where there is like literally the middle of nowhere. And the meme was, it showed a picture of a bunch of groceries on the porch, and it says, happy the porch is a fridge season to anybody who celebrates. And all the people who do that reposted it. And part of the message there is that there are lots of people like myself. I don't use a refrigerator. And so in the summer, I eat one way, and in the spring and fall, I eat another way, and in the winter, I eat another way, because I got different temperatures going on. Yeah. The East Indians are good ones to look up their recipes, because they're like probably the most expert in all the peoples of the world. The Chinese are pretty good. 2 Koreans, like kimchi, which is basically coleslaw, fresh coleslaw. But the East Indians have perfected it, the fermentation, preservation, and with the adding of different spices that help to make the life longer. Here's an interesting thing. I did an experiment, but I have almost never had any buttermilk go. This is store-bought buttermilk, so they're not even using or they're probably using chemical additives to accelerate the process, natural chemical additives. But I've had, I did an experiment this last year.
Oh, yeah, you can do that with like vinegar.
Pardon?
I said, oh, yeah, you can do that with like vinegar. When you said natural, it's like, oh, yeah, well, it's probably not that bad.
Right. Right, yeah, exactly. But this buttermilk that I bought from the store, I let it sit at room temperature for an entire year, and it was still edible and not unpleasant at all, even after a year not being in a refrigerator.
Was it raw?
Crazy.
Well, no, I'm sure it was. Well, it was from the commercial. So it had to be pasteurized to come out of a Walmart.
Is raw milk illegal in New Mexico?
No, it's the state of New Mexico allows it, and the city of Albuquerque, I think, was the only city that didn't allow its sale, and I think they recently got rid of that law.
Oh yeah, but still, a Walmart wouldn't carry it, even in a state where it's legal.
Right. Actually, I think let me correct myself. Actually, I think Albuquerque still does prohibit it, because that's why people in Albuquerque go to the suburb of Corrales to Moses Country Store to buy their raw milk there.
All right.
The other trick to get around buying raw milk is if your government makes it illegal for you to sell raw milk for human consumption.
Yeah, you do it for animal.
Go to a pet store.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as like if you need antibiotics, but you don't want to go to the doctor because you
just get fish antibiotics.
Get fish mocks, if you don't have like insurance or something. I mean, I got kind of anti-antibiotics, but back when I wasn't, I used that before, and it literally worked. It's literally just amoxicillin.
Because it's the same, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't sell it on Amazon because of that. And isn't that a little messed up?
Yeah.
So messed up. 603-283-6160. Thank you for the call, David in New Mexico. We're just going to move on talking about this. If you're a little confused, there was a caller a little while back that called in about he started fermenting things, and he thinks that people need to start learning that skill, which isn't a bad recommendation at all. You could go online and figure out how to ferment things and start doing it pretty easily. 603-283-6160. Follow us for more tips before the grid goes down. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
Who told you to go this way? You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Now.
Wait a minute.
Forget it.